Hello and welcome to the Notorious Scoundrels. I am Evan Paul. That is Mike Barry over there. And there's another Evan.
Hey,
He's labeled
multiple
as the
Evans.
Lost Raccoon, but he is found.
Yeah, I forgot
Well,
to change that actually.
that's very unprofessional. Welcome back, Evan. How you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. How was your interview?
It was good. We accidentally got a couple scoops,
We
which was
did,
neat.
yeah. I don't think they were intentional either, to be completely honest. I think they kind of tripped over the log and they're like, "Well, we're here now."
My tripping over a log is it's a little bit judgmental. They were effusive with their desire to share things, and we're never going to say no to that.
Yeah, no, I mean it's great. I mean, I trip over logs all the time. It's like it's fine. I'm not like, never gonna come after him for like spoiling stuff, but yeah, I don't think it was intentional. That's all.
Yeah, I think something that I may talk about later is the when I was at Adepticon, I had like potentially a couple opportunities to get some more spoilery stuff, and I was foiled at every turn. So it was good to like sort of accidentally make it happen this time. And the main things were just that the custom boxes will have command cards of some kind.
Mhm.
There's going to be more than one campaign, and that the idea of faction exclusive upgrades. Those were, I think, like the main
There
things.
was one more, and
Ah,
that was that the 40 plus piece
oh yeah,
kit
that's right. It's
that
something
Dallas
else.
referred to is actually not any of the kits that we've seen.
Yeah.
So there's basically that means that there's like a customizable kit that exists that we don't know about that uh, basically has been produced already.
But did Dallas say it was customizable, or did he just say that it's 40 pieces? Like we'd have to go back to the tape.
Well, I don't know what Dallas said because I don't know uh
Yeah,
what the specific comments that Will was referring to, but Will said it was customizable.
we we should have asked Will for the timestamps. Like,
Yeah,
can you refer us back to the thing you're referring to? All
yeah.
right. Well, maybe one of our listeners will point that out to us. Speaking of that, got some Patreon business to get into real quick before we get into our actual stuff. We have a nice full show. We're going to be doing our final minis in Memoriam.
We're gonna have nice full shows
Uh,
for
uh,
like the next
yeah, we're
four
gonna have
months.
full shows for a while. We're eating good over here in Legion content land. I said it, but it's gonna push past it.
Yeah.
Um,
He
so
just hates the
Patreon,
word content. I don't get it. It is, like
honestly, the real answer is that I became extra worried when I saw like some. It was a Gamma. It was the Gamma thing where they talked about how they're gonna have this strategy where they're talking to content creators and influencers, and so my local friends, I love them, but they're a bunch of jerks. Is that they immediately like took a screenshot of that and they're like, "So, Evan, I guess you're an influencer now," and I like railed against it,
I mean,
saying that
you realize you are,
no,
right?
but hang on, Mike. Like, we're gonna this break from my planned Patreon content is where Evan's gonna defend himself from the label of influencer. So, in
You're
my point of
literally like this is the definition.
okay, my thought of an influencer is somebody who is like paid to do ads for a company, right? Like a YouTuber or an Instagram celebrity, quote unquote celebrity, gets paid by like the easiest example of this is beauty products. So if there's like a new kind of makeup, and if there's a popular makeup Instagram person, then the whatever makeup company would pay them to like do a video where they talk about this
If I
product.
may jump in here,
Go ahead, Michael.
I would like to just give the like Wikipedia definition of an
God, I
influencer.
knew I knew you were gonna do this because
Um,
I looked this up before and I was disappointed.
yeah, this is actually the AI overview from Google.
Thanks, Google.
An influencer is a person who has established credibility and influence within a specific niche, often leveraging social media to connect with a large audience. They are known for their ability to impact the buying habits or actions of others through their online content and interactions.
We do
That's
tell people what actions to take.
We also tell
That's
people
true.
what models to buy.
Yeah, we say don't take the aim action, first of
Don't
all.
buy riot control because they're bad.
There you go. I guess we're influencers now. All right, well, some great content and influencing gonna be coming right here. Yeah. So real quick, again, Patreon stuff. Shout outs to new members. Dom Leadham, Maximum Goblin, guys. Maximum Goblin is now a member of the he's not minimum goblin, he's not like medium goblin, maximum. And also Skullforge Studios. You may have bought some of their 3D printed stuff where I like the names that they have because they have to like name them something, even though the mini
Non-ID printed.
represents something,
Yeah.
but they have to do a copyright free name. So I forget Lock Durd was something like uh he was like Corpulent Commander. Uh
Nice.
but they do make some nice stuff if you do not have a 3D printer yourself. That's just a free ad for Skullforge. That's a content mistake, by the way, because we should be making people pay for that, but that one's for free. Other shout outs to
Mistake number one.
random other shout outs to random patrons, Ken Naka and Cyber Owl. Thank you for being members. This week on the blog, we this was last week, but I didn't get a shout out last week because the interview William Hidalgo of Spain. We hosted his sleeper cell unit guide, and this was the first time we hosted something in two languages. So we hosted a Spanish version, which is basically the core version, and then we did do an English translation.
I gotta be
And
honest.
yeah,
This
what's
was the
that?
point where I realized my high school failed because I attempted to
You
read that
tried the
article
Spanish
in
one? How did it
Spanish,
go?
and I just want to be clear. I got an A on my Regents in Spanish
Sure,
in high
sure,
school.
sure.
I got about half a sentence in, and I was like, I don't know what this says. So we hit that translate button real quick.
What was your name in Spanish class?
Miguel.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Probably should have guessed that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
also this week
What?
on the blog, we have the Denver Sector Qualifier Tournament Report. That's from Kingsley Tower number 9 about Star Wars Unlimited, and we're gonna have a deep dive into the meta as it was represented of the within the Shatterpoint Worlds tournament, written by the guy who got second place at Worlds, Matt Brownson. So he knows a thing or two. And then most excitingly, uh, in air quotes for me, because it's going to involve a lot of work that I still have to do between now and when this episode releases, is a fully updated version of the Legion Buyer's Guide. Now that we actually have all of the information for at least the next few months, we certainly know all the release information for the next year or so, as far as I can tell. Obviously, what units are and how much we can recommend them, that's still going to be to come when we see more spoilers. But we actually like know what Legion is now, so I get to
Sort of.
update that whole thing. Yeah,
Kinda.
we mostly we know what it is now.
Yeah.
Aside from some rules clarifications that are still hanging out there, but yeah, that will be updated. They're like that one's a big one for us because we have it. We have a link to from the subreddit. I'm hoping that if anybody in Legion Discord is listening, that maybe we can stick you that one because I don't have anything about our Patreon or whatever in there. It's just meant to be a public service and meant to make it so that I see fewer people posting on Reddit and Facebook going, "What is going on with Legion?" I'm hoping to basically like have one page that explains everything and also how good we think things are. That'll be more towards the bottom, but
The good news
that
is I think the buyer's guide is going to be like pretty easy, at least the intro to it. It's buy a
Yeah.
starter set and buy a custom commander
oh,
pack.
that it's going to be
Oh,
so much easier than it was before, where I was
Yeah.
like,
yeah.
"Well, you got your Battle Force boxes over here, and then you're gonna
Yeah.
have to get yourself an Essentials kit with that." It felt like you were working at like a car shop, and you were just like listing off like all the various fees that people have. But now, luckily, it's just going to be buy a starter set. Stop.
Done.
And then here's this other stuff. So yeah, that will be up. Then briefly, last last bit of Patreon stuff. I apologize. This is extra heavy this week. We have some giveaway winners to announce. We had a uh, t-shirt giveaway for Justin Rodriguez. I will. You can send me your information when you can. That was for voting in the Star Wars ranking that we did a little over a month ago. I'm finally getting around to just like announcing giveaway winners. I apologize, I've been busy. Then also a sleeper cell. We had a giveaway for that. That was just like a random one for Dan Fiore. So congrats.
Enjoy it
And
before
then
it gets nerfed.
yes, I mean they have like 6 months at least, so they're probably okay. And then the last one, we actually need the community's help because Evan, I have to admit that I made an oopsie.
Oh,
So I did this giveaway for a saber tank. It was like the first one that I did,
yep.
and it was attached to like a survey about what else would you want to see from the Fifth Trooper Patreon, just like gathering some information and then going like, hey, if you're willing to give us the info, we'll put you in for a saber tank. Here's what I didn't do on Google Forms. I didn't require email addresses for that one.
Ah,
So
good.
Rookie
Okay.
move.
I know that was a rookie mistake. And since then, I've now realized my mistake, but this is one for the community. I posted this in the Discord. I haven't seen, like on the Patreon, I should say, and the Discord. I haven't seen any responses yet, but I like picked the survey response that won, but I need the person who submitted that to identify themselves based on the honor
Oh,
system
okay.
so that I can send
Well,
them
you
the saber
see,
tank.
I put in
Uh,
for that tank as well. So let me see.
And that's
Uh,
the thing. I trust our patrons, but they're not going to pull any funny business because if we got messaged by two people, then I would know that one of them is pulling funny business, and then uh, a funny business investigation would ensue after that. But
we got
anyway,
the funny business
appreciate the help from the
detective out.
community to help me find that winner. I hope that we can just like find who that person is, so that I don't have to just sort of like do another one in order to just get rid of that saber tank that's weighing me down. I want to get it to one of our patrons. Okay, that was a lot of Patreon talk. I apologize. Let's get into it. So we last time we had the interview with the Wills, so that was cool. We also had a segment at the end where we talked about most of the other changes that came along, but then we started. Mike started talking about Jin over and over
I'm sorry.
again.
Once I get going, man, it's really hard to stop particularly when there's new stuff to talk about, It's
I
just
know.
like,
I
once you get the ball rolling, it's like,
yeah.
you know.
I
It's been content desert for a while, so it's hard to not enjoy the oasis when you walk up to it.
Yeah, the crazy
totally
part
fair.
is we had been recording for like 4.5 hours
It
at
was a
that
long
point. Like
recording.
I should have been like ready to be done.
Yeah.
But I was not. Still not.
Yeah. Like I think Mike and I, neither of us had really things that we needed to get to that day. So we just made it one big exhausting Legion day. But the thing that we tried not to talk about, which we're going to talk about now, are the three units that got the biggest updates. We talked about all the ones that got little updates, but they're the three
Let's be
where
honest, they got actual updates. I'd like to phrase it.
okay, Mike, but Cassie and I did change a little bit. Like let's be fair.
No, they didn't.
Okay. Oh, all right. Take it easy. All right.
Yeah, and then also Sabine changed a tiny bit.
Okay.
She got a melee with her gun. I'm just saying, changes are changes. If Kyle were here, he would tell you the same thing. I would wager.
I don't know. I'm not sure you're gonna win that argument. I think you could
I'm
you
just
could
trying.
totally like lean on the cold calculating efficiency of Kyle Dordbos in a vacuum while he's not here, but I'm
Yeah.
not sure he would agree with you.
Well, we miss you, Kyle, if you're listening. I'm trying my best over here to keep Mike under control, but obviously you were the true master at it. Uh, anyway, we're going to talk about them now in a planned way. Okay,
Okay.
guys, the three biggest changes, the three quote actual changes, if you're a Mike Berry over there, but it is Jin, and we're going to do it in this order. We're going to do Jin, Kallus, and Lando. So let's just get into it. And I'm going to start with you, Evan Bulriss. You're a
Oh,
guest. We're going to
okay.
start with Jin. Uh,
Ooh.
what I guess like what do you guys think? Should we like list off the changes or should we trust that people have read this by now and not use up their time?
Um,
Uh, I think we just
This
talk
is
about them
live
as is
live
now,
production here. Yeah,
because the old card doesn't matter anymore, right?
fair.
Like I
Let's do it.
literally, uh, I over the weekend I was sorting my stuff and I'm like, do I just throw away all of my old stuff? Like, is it just garbage time now? All those binders I meticulously like,
so I'm gonna
right?
say something that I think people aren't gonna like, but
It's a new
but
one.
I say that all the time, right? I don't think you should throw anything out, and I also like mainly because I think all this stuff's gonna change again, frankly.
But why would that affect your decision to throw stuff away when it's old stuff? It's not
Because
going to
we've
go
been
back to the old
we've
version.
I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't think that this update, particularly with like I don't know. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say if you haven't thrown out your cards up to this point, I think you should continue hanging on to them because I think that, there's nothing has really changed in that regard. Um,
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I'm the same guy. I'm the same whale. I'm a whale. A woo. I don't know what whales make for sounds, but that's close I got. So I'll be buying like all the card packs when they come in, and so I'm thinking maybe I just because when I X-wing went from 1.0 to 2.0, I just dumped everything. It was just in the old garbosia.
yeah.
So I'm like moving on. Got to keep up. But now I'm like, because like example like Jin's a whole new card, right? I don't know if they'll go back.
They're not going to go back.
Yeah, right.
No.
Throw away your old cards unless they are cool promos that you want to hang on to because they look cool. But if they were the card that came in the box, like, okay, this is my point of view. Throw that crap away. I'm throwing all that stuff away. I haven't gotten to it yet, just because like I just haven't gotten to it yet. But on the day where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna spend 2 hours doing Legion organization, the first thing I'm gonna do is to gather every non-promo card I have and put it right in the recycling bin.
I'm gonna
Do you
be
know
honest.
what's?
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead, Mike. Hit
But
it.
all I was gonna say is I'm never buying a card again after this update. If this
It's good. You
update
don't
is
have to.
I
That's the
understand.
cool thing.
I
Yeah.
guess like I'm never the only thing I might buy is the command card packs. I'm never
Hmm.
buying another unit upgrade card for this game again because
Yeah.
I think a lot of these are going to have to continue to change at least on a points basis minimum. And I think a lot of them like Wookiees and other, Mandos and stuff like they still need changes that haven't happened yet. Um, and I just I
I
don't
don't
know.
think those cards are going to change, though. I think that the
Maybe I'm not saying that they are going to. I'm saying that they should. If like we're doing our complete due diligence here to like refresh the edition, I think they should be. And they haven't been. And whether they are, I think is up in the air. They clearly haven't chose to yet.
let's let's table that for now. We'll get back to that because at the end we're going to talk about our each of our feelings about sort of the state of the game, and maybe like how we can think about working together to ensure that the game continues to grow in a positive direction. But right now we're talking about these three new cards. So Jin, Evan,
All right.
what do you think about
Okay.
Jin?
Jin is interesting. So okay, we'll do a compliment sandwich. One,
Love it.
the art's real cool. Really like that new art.
It
The art's
is.
Very
great.
stunning.
I like the
And
art.
that's an across the board thing, I think.
Yes. We'll
The
just.
art is amazing in this update, like through and through.
We
Um,
actually have an article planned that is going to be working with AMG to like do a short written interview about the art and the new art in the game. So that's an exciting thing.
love it.
Anyway,
It's
go
not
ahead,
all AI
Evan.
generated. It's actual someone doing it. Love it.
Yes,
Here for
thank
it.
thank
And
God for
it's
that.
all like, uh, so I know it's a really lame compliment to start, but that's cool. Negative point. I don't know if she's going to survive melee. So she's got agile, she's got nimble, independent move, is all really cool. Disengage, super sick. I think her new goal in life is to like just harass things that can't melee. right? Go beat up some stormtroopers, go beat up some shore troopers. But the problem is they're probably not too far away from something that will one shot her. I think in melee, maybe not Empire. Empire's not my best, but like Arcs or
Yeah.
Magna Guard or Rebels Wookiees, I guess. Maybe a bunch of sleeper cell hitting her with like the depth charge because that's what that one to melee on sleepers. No one ever uses it against me, so I'm not really sure off the top of my head. I just get shot by the pistols all the time. The sleeper is they can just or they can do blaster pistol and melee too.
Yeah.
So like I am afraid if she gets caught by anything that's really a melee thing, she just kind of dies. So that's my middle part of the compliment sandwich here. A lot there. The end is, hey, new cards. That's cool. Uh, I rebel.
Yo, I
Uh,
want to be clear. These cards aren't new. They're the same.
yeah,
The effects are almost identical.
They're almost identical. They are tweaks in terms of the
yeah,
actual gun
they're.
effects.
I was always a big fan of Trust Goes Both Ways, just because I liked playing it on like Ahsoka.
I
You
do
can do
think
fun, like cool stuff with that.
that card is way better now. Like by a lot.
Expand on that, Mike.
Yeah, so the reason that card is way better is because you play it, right? And then Jin can like just like double move. Unfortunately, she doesn't get independent that turn, which is like seems like a huge nombo. I think they should have taken just made this card two troopers so that you could not order Jin. I think that would have been way better, just like
Fair.
instant out of the box. Um, but you can just like basically immediately go with Jin, slap two dodge tokens on whatever other unit is relevant. I guess, you know, if you've got like underworld connections on her, she can like, dodge a Bad Batch or something.
Oh,
That wouldn't be bad,
oh.
you know.
It just
And
really
and
made me so
and
sad to hear that. But yeah, that's good.
similarly, you could like if you give it to like a Bad Batch that they move twice. If you go first with them, they give Jin a bunch of aim tokens. Like there's some synergies there for sure. That I
Uh,
think weren't
yeah,
there
you're not wrong.
before.
Um, Three courage is good. Search crit still is okay. I am sad she doesn't have charge. I guess
I feel like she really needs it.
yeah, kind of like because you can't do the melee outside of her turn anymore. So it wouldn't have really been to me like a big deal. Okay, her independent goes off. It's not her turn. She moves into melee. She can't attack you because it's not her activation. Okay, my turn. Like it's. I feel like it would have been fine. I don't. For black dice, no pierce is not like crazy. Maybe you get three and they kill one. The point cost is really the big thing for me. Is 75 is like very low, and even if you just take her with like slap on let's say you don't have any particular job for her and you go real cheap like improvised orders and like I don't know if uh, where is it situational awareness is kind of worth it anymore, uh, but you could do that in like tenacity and maybe she gets a little meaner, but I don't at that point price point for what she does I don't really want to invest too much in it. Maybe just vigilance, call it a day.
Yeah, this is why I thought Kallus was 75 points all last episode.
Yeah, I caught that
Because
now that I
because
see this. Yeah.
because
She
there's
is 5 points more than him, which
yeah,
is
because I in my
Yeah.
head there was no way he was cheaper than Jin.
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Shockingly.
I agree with you that he seems like a better value. We will get to that one in a second, but it to sum up, Evan,
I'm
she
sorry,
had
I've been rambling about
she
it. Yeah,
has she has no, you're fine, man.
it's
Uh, we're we're just like shooting the breeze here, man. We're just talking about
I'm
our
just
Star
mad
Wars
rambling.
Legion.
I guess
Uh,
my final thought is I'll have to play her because I really liked the idea of Jin before, but it didn't really come together. Uh, I'm sad no danger sense built in because that was kind of like a good. It wasn't great defense stick, but it was kind of something. They
that
got
part
ripping
is
stuff around a lot.
that part is weird because her one pip gives her. Did it give her a suppression with each like free move before
I don't think so.
her
I
old
think it
one
was
pip?
just when she activates, you go
Because it
for it. Yeah.
it does now, um, and like when I when I saw that even just like an hour ago when I was looking over these cards again, I was like, oh yeah, well that one pip she gets a bunch of suppression tokens, but she has danger sense, so that sort of goes hand in hand with it. And
Yo,
then I was like, oh no, she doesn't.
I've got some
Uh,
copium on this one.
okay, go ahead.
I think, and this is
Oh,
like a really, like, I have no basis to think this, but I think there's going to be a Rogue One Battle Force, and like the unique universal ability is everybody gets Danger Sense X, where
Hmm.
like everybody just in the Battle Force is
X
like,
equal. Honestly, if they did X equal to courage, that would make a lot of sense.
or just like everybody gets Danger Sense one. That's like you take, I don't know, I
So that would give Cassian danger sense four at that point.
yeah, I don't, maybe it's like if you don't already have Danger Sense, you gain Danger Sense.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
just like otherwise the text for that card
I
I,
mean,
is
would it
I
be terrible if you got Danger Sense 4? Probably not, right?
no, I think it'd be fine. It's not much different than Danger Sense 3.
there is a point where a 75 point unit, if you start really piling on too many keywords,
Yeah, yeah, it's
we're
out of
gonna get to
control.
Callus in a second, but
I was like,
uh,
Yeah, like
there is a point where a unit that cheap probably shouldn't have so many like combat keywords that are attached to it.
yeah,
And so for whatever it's worth, like my feelings on Jin is basically that she's 75 points and she has one of the better independents in the game.
yep,
The independent move is also functionally independent uh, prior to it's functionally also independent dodge and a nimble unit, right? I mean,
yes, yes.
yeah,
um,
yep,
so that is, and then like when you combine that with disengage, it is a lot of potential utility if and when she gets to a POI that like your opponent has like a couple of people contesting. Um, and she also does have infiltrate, which means that if you do decide that you're gonna make sure you have order control on her, you can make sure that she gets good positioning on your opponent's weak side, which
yeah,
I think is probably the best thing to do to be a weak side harasser. You can think of some objectives, like a good example is intercept the signals. I think she would be a pretty good like antenna carrier for your opponent's weak side, right? Because she's gonna like the idea would be to dive on it on a side where they wouldn't have a lot of like melee threats that would be really likely to just like one shot her and take her down, and that she can just exist there at least until round four. And then if she does that, then she's scoring a point for you every round with maybe minimal, if any, other help on that side of the intercept signals. And that's pretty good. And that gives you time for your more meaty army to A, make sure that the opposite side is well covered, but also that they can start marching towards your actual opponent's side in like the center on their end of the table. There's other objectives such as shifting priorities where I think that she may have some utility as well. There's other objectives like close the pocket where I think that her utility goes way down. If
yeah.
she's like in the middle, because like I
She's got to
basically
fight
think the
for that.
closer she is to your opponent's strong side, the worse that she is by like a big margin. And so it's going to kind of depend on your ability to keep her utility alive by keeping her alive. She is not charging down the middle. I think that that's probably the wrong way to go about it with her. So I don't know. What do you guys think about that? She's only 75 points. Again, it's not
I
much.
I want to make a comparison that is not going to be super flattering. I would like to
Okay.
compare her unit card to Padme's unit card because they're pretty close to identical.
Let me take a look here.
So all right, hold up. Let me finish.
Whoa,
Let
whoa,
me
whoa, whoa.
finish. They are if you assume that you're playing Padme's 3-pip, they both have infiltrate.
Yeah.
Let's assume that for now. Padme's got an extra health. She doesn't have disengage and independent move. I think independent move is probably not very good on not very good. You're gonna use it rarely. Jin is a piece that needs in order if you don't want her to die. because she is 5 health white save. She is a rebel trooper unit. Um, that maybe got to hold a dodge token essentially if you trigger Agile 1, which is still getting one shot by most things in the game. She's got disengage, which is nice if she makes it to melee and lives, but like her outside of independent move and disengage, she is a 1 health less Padme Amidala for plus 15 points.
But
But
independent move is also again independent dodge, and that does add up.
sure.
And those rebel troopers, they can be shot prior to when they activate to like really mess them up.
Yeah, I guess my
And
argument here is that I'm not actually convinced that like you are going to be able to play Jin well and not have activate order control on her. Like,
you need order control early for sure. But once you're in the fracas, I think the idea would be that you're like hopping around between melee opportunities. Now, of course, if you ever get to the point where your opponent has two units that are meleeing her, that's how you like keep her down, and then she's going to be in real trouble. So it is risky.
so you need order control on turn 1 because you
Yes,
need
you
to
do.
deploy her late.
I
You need
agree.
order control on turn 2 probably because you probably haven't made melee
To
yet,
move her late, probably.
right?
Yeah.
To move her
Yeah.
late.
Yeah.
So you're not triggering independent probably on turn 1 or turn 2.
Hmm.
On turn 3, like we're well past like arc charging, sleeper cell, shooting interval. Yeah, if she gets in there, I think she can probably do some work. I guess the argument that I'm putting up is that I don't think she gets there for the same reason that I don't think Padme can ever score a secret mission, is that they can't live to get to that stage of the game.
Yeah. Although a lot more is being asked of secret mission scorers than is being asked of Jin.
No doubt, but
Yeah.
it is a similar concept of I essentially need to get up and in my opponent's grill in order to be
Right. I
relevant, right?
exactly. I need to get to this place in order to matter for sure.
Yeah.
I was actually shocked they didn't give her secret mission. That feels like a very Rogue One thing to
Jin
have.
Erso thing. Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know, like
It's a
our plans.
sort of a good point. Um,
Um,
Again,
but
she's 75 points. She's got like 6 keywords, not counting the gun keywords, which would be 7, 8, 9. You know, it's just like keyword soup, right? Like it's
sure.
but yeah, like secret mission feels like would have been cool. And
Again, that could be a Rogue One Battle Force thing if you're trying to
that's
be
fair.
like,
Um,
all your heroes gain secret mission. That would be actually kind of crazy.
because I agree that secret mission's pretty miserable these days to try to get off unless you do like that the four corners one and they just put nothing on one side for you to run up the board on.
Yeah.
yeah,
But I don't. So I need to play her. This is one where I'm like my camp in my brain. I'm thinking about all the times when I thought like a red save melee guy would be safe and he just gets shot and dies. And I'm like, well, same thing's probably going to be happening to her. So I'm like, I guess though, because she's so cheap, you might have like 14x or something, or 13x in Rebels, and maybe like that having that one 75 point beat six is a strong word. A harasser.
harasser.
There we
Yeah,
go.
I mean
That's a
that's
good
what
word.
she
Yeah,
is. Yeah,
is like because she's got suppressive, so if they try to take a standby to do shenanigans, you can knock it off. There's like some stuff there. I don't know. Yeah, jury's out for me on her. I don't know. But if you play him with all the other Rogue One stuff, you get like 3 heroes for like sub 300 points or something. So like maybe
They're
that's
very
fine.
cheap.
Maybe who cares? Yeah, like
Yeah.
because Cassian's what? Cassian's 90, and then K2 is still like 75, right? He's still pretty cheap. So it's like maybe that's
Cassian
fine.
K2 and Jin. It seems like a lot of utility value and at least a decent amount of offense and not a ton of survivability except for K2. Um, but like you're paying a little more for that than you pay for like Count Dooku with all the fixins.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess aggressive tactics is out now, so Count Dooku weirdly got cheaper. But it's
For three of them, they're 235.
yeah.
For
I
three
mean, that
heroes that like are cool. So maybe the cool factor will outweigh the like maybe she's not great. It's like, oh, I'm just playing Rogue One, and I turned all my Pathfinders into core troopers now, so I've got like a cool thematic army. So maybe that's fine. Maybe
and
that's like
that
all it needs to be.
that still leaves you space because K2 doesn't count against your cap for operatives. That still gives you space for uh, one or no, it doesn't give it because Cassian's an operative too now. So that
Yep.
means that
Yeah,
does fill up your operative slots. So that actually would be the downside, I would
yeah.
say, is that A, for order control that can be kind of messy, and B, it means you can't take Bad Batch.
You can't
So
take Bad
Well,
Batch. You
that part
can't.
seems tough.
You
true.
also can't
Yeah,
take
that's
Operative Luke.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah. Oof.
I I think maybe we haven't talked about this at all, but the fact that she's now an operative over a commander, I think is like a strict downgrade.
For sure.
In that like the operative slot in Rebels is just way too bloated. I know
there's a lot.
I don't think it's. I mean, I'm not sure there's a ton you can do about it, but I definitely think to me, Jin was much more of a thing that I would have thought about in this, even in this edition in the commander slot for the
Yeah.
potential commanders that they have available. If you told me that this unit was a commander at this cost, I might consider it, to be honest with you, because it's like this or Leia at that price point, and that's actually like an interesting decision. This in the operative slot, that's where all their good characters, the like kill stuff are.
Had we mentioned inspiring presence yet, by the
We
way?
haven't, and we should.
So that is a thing. You might say, hey, her moving to an operative, it means that she is now not the second Courage 3 commander in Rebels. But she still basically is because they left her a command slot and inspiring presence. Not only does it give you an extra range on it, but it means that even as an operative, she can share her
Oh,
courage.
huh.
So that is something, right? I mean, making it so that your panic is at 6 compared to 4 can be very meaningful in today's game.
It can. Um,
So and also like one might say that Commander Luke, his value went down because he lost access to the two best Luke command cards,
Commander Luke went
right?
the way of
Okay.
the Yoda.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's okay. I'm
and
like, where are we going with this? Oh,
with
yeah, yeah, yeah.
which means that like and he's now the only naturally Courage 3 commander in Rebels. What watch them release one of the custom commanders as Courage 3 and then all
I
hell is
would I
gonna
would
break
be
loose.
wildly I would be wildly surprised if you couldn't get one of those custom commanders to Courage 3.
I I don't think I don't think that'll happen. We will see.
You don't think there's an upgrade card in there that's just like +1 courage?
No, I think that's too strong for a commander. So I would say my final thoughts for Jin, so that we can move on to the other two. Uh, One, Evan, a second ago you were asking what is the sound that whales make? That is singing. Uh, and I'm mentioning this now because in my brain, in my messed up brain, I'm going to blame you for this, Evan, actually. The
Perfect.
first thing that came to my brain was, well, they obviously moo. Yeah, whales moo. Why didn't you
Whales
know
moo. I
that?
mean, they're
You
kind of like,
troglodyte.
yeah. You absolute troglodyte.
So here's the other actual thing. I appreciate her art on the two pip, the new art, which is her handing the blaster to K2, because that is what actually happened in the game. She no longer has access to Jin's blaster. It is
So
a
I
Oh,
PC
actually
only.
oh, you're right.
I'm pretty sure hasn't changed.
Oh, really?
No, the art's the same, yeah.
Oh,
But
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, weird. I didn't know that there was any art that.
That's because Jin was so bad you never played her.
you know what?
You've
There was
never
a
seen
point
it
where
before.
I was messing around with Jin's blaster on Jin, just
Yeah,
because the slot machine that would be, and then the
right.
access to an aim like wasn't like the worst. But yeah, now it's like, well, it's now only K2 can take it. So, oh, I guess if she's included in your army, it's still reduced by 5. So if
Right.
you don't take her, it feels less thematic.
I
Yeah,
agree.
it's
A battle force is coming though,
it
so
has
you know
to. It has to,
I
right? Like,
we'll see. We will see. I think it's probably gonna be tied to a release that they're gonna do in the future. Maybe
yeah.
one that reintroduces Pathfinder. Spoiler alert. But let's move on to Kallus. Mike, you've been doing a lot of
Ooh.
comparison between Jin and Kallus.
yeah.
And I think that we all know why. He is in fact 5 points cheaper. But what do you think is going to be like what is Callus's effect on Imperial list building going to be in your guess?
I think Callus is basically, at least for me in the interim of like figuring everything out, he's going in every Imperial list I'm ever
Oh yeah,
constructing.
big agree.
Um,
Absolutely,
he's
Zach.
he's got
I also fully agree.
he's got free action observe two. He's got bounty and he's got direct core unit. Free orders always good. Bounty extra ways to get victory points great.
Sure, yeah.
Free re-rolling offensive tokens with the observe. I there's just so much innate value before we even get to his like uh profile, like anything else about his profile and those three keywords. I would pay 70 points for basically any unit that had those three keywords on them already. Before we like it wouldn't even need to have command cards, I think.
I
And
remember.
he
I think you
certainly
said the
go
same
ahead.
thing about Cody years ago. When they first announced Cody, you had the same take. Was like when they showed his stats, you're like, yeah, I would just take this at like like no cards, right? Like it's just
Yeah,
that
I mean, and
this
most
does that
people
much.
do, right? Because
Yeah.
Cody's command cards don't do anything.
Yeah.
Our new world champion, aside from the two pip, where he definitely got some mileage out of it, and
Yeah,
the other ones, they were basically like, I get to observe twice, so maybe that'll matter a
yeah.
couple
Yeah. Yeah.
times.
That's fair. Yeah.
Uh, but I I 100% agree. Callus is just Value Town. He is the mayor of Value Town. It is hard. It's hard, really hard, actually, to think of unique characters in Legion that have as much stuff for the points, so to speak, as Callus does. And even when you compare him to like the very efficient Jedi characters, such as your Luke's and Dooku's in particular, like Jedi Luke, I should say, to really get the value out of those, you do need to tack a 40-point upgrade onto them. So I think that their value does obviously diminish in terms of like a percentage. You don't need to put anything on Callus. There's certainly a couple good upgrade options, but for 70 points,
I mean,
that is great.
Yeah.
The old Imperial officer, which obviously is no longer in the game. I get that.
Yeah, we'll get to
Was
that one.
what, 45 points?
Yeah.
Okay. Free action observe 2 is already basically everything that unit did, but you get to do it for free every turn. Um, in addition to the extra 25 points you're paying is basically for everything else, which is a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
That's a
know,
ton.
bounty, direct, charge, good, decent weapon that is used in both melee and uh range two or
Yeah.
whatever. I will say probably tough to get aims for long shot, particularly with
Yeah.
that Imperial officer
He
gone.
he did lose tactical.
He
I guess
lost tactical.
I didn't think
Um,
about that one.
yeah, getting aims for long shot or lethal seems
Rough.
questionable
Yeah.
without like an offensive push.
Yeah.
Um, which I think his command cards are basically the same, so I assume that he still has recover printed on his
I think it's two pip.
His,
no, maybe
no,
I think they actually removed it.
his
Is
his
it?
his three pip does not have recover anymore.
Yeah, so the recover's gone, so offensive push is kind of out.
Uh,
What I will say is that this actually brings up a point because I thought that this is what would be resolved by now, and forgive me if it has been and I am ignorant to it. I haven't checked today. But hold the line is not in the rule book.
Oh, is it
oh,
still
really?
not?
It is not in the CRB. It was not in the
Whoa,
updates
wait a
they
minute.
provided to the CRB last week when they
This
were
could
making
prompt all
edits and
sorts of
stuff.
speculation.
Um, I certainly am like a little bit like questioning. They're like, "Oh, riot control is pretty bad." Maybe I think I'm one of
They've
the
now said in
podcasts.
multiple interviews that we could
What
just
would
change
happen if
hold
we
the
changed
line.
hold the line? Yeah. So the fact that it's not in the rule book and hasn't been added to the rule book, and again, maybe over the last 24 to 48 hours, it's been updated. It's Monday. I haven't checked.
I'm checking
Um,
now. Don't worry. We're doing
yeah.
live fact checking.
Doing it live.
But hold if hold the line is different, his one pip could be wildly better
Yeah.
or worse. I think right now it's fine,
It's well, it got a buff because they can't. It's so specifically. Uh, oh, I guess it didn't change. Enemy units engaged that cannot move except to pivot because you can still force push them off, right?
Yes. Yeah,
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 that was the big like.
and which is whatever. You shouldn't be able to lock down a unit with force push with a 70-point unit anyways.
Yeah,
Like regardless of if you played a command card, at least in my humble opinion. Um, but yeah, I don't know. His command cards are the same. I think ISB Investigation is still a good card, but I think it's generally speaking a little slow for the Legion games that we play. It's tough to find a place to
now it
like you,
is.
you kind of have to play it on turn one in order for it to be relevant.
Yeah, I think
Um,
so.
which means you're often going first.
Yeah,
Yeah,
'cause turn
and
one's normally we're both going to play standing orders, and I hope I lose the roll,
Yeah.
and that's turn one. And then turn two is like your big get in there card.
I definitely cannot find hold the line in the rule book, by the way.
It's not, I'm telling you, it's not there.
It's not.
Yeah.
Which it boy, that really makes you wonder though, right? Like,
It's
sh
definitely weird that
that's so
things like
weird.
Shien Mastery are in there and Hold the Line is not, right? Um,
So, just for clarification, if no one knows what hold the line does, because it's on one other card,
which
uh,
maybe what it does, to be clear.
yeah, which is as of 6:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, April the 21st of 2025. Hold the line while this unit is engaged. I keep closing the thing. While enemy unit is engaged, it gains surge to hit and surge to defense.
Wait, where are you getting that from though?
That's from
I just pulled up the Stormtrooper Riot Squad
Oh,
card
you
on
pulled out
the
the Rat
desktop
Squad card,
panel,
right?
and then
it's
clicked on
the
the
reminder text, right?
yeah, the
Which is
reminder text. Yeah,
um which the reminder text actually isn't even like a legal like
yeah.
it's technically Hold the Line doesn't do anything right now if you're like if you are like
This is wild.
I'm
How did we miss this last week, Mike?
to be fair, I didn't. We just kind of like didn't want to push the typos and
Oh,
mistakes thing,
I
and
would have
so I
pushed
sort of
this.
let it go. But because there were a lot of them, and they were very quick in fixing most of them, or at least verbally, like we thought the clone medic thing was a mistake. It wasn't, obviously. But this is definitely one that like it definitely should be there, for sure. Um, but
Well, it's
it's not.
speculation time. Are they deciding what they want hold the line to be?
Could be. Uh, I don't know what you could change it to make Riot Troopers good. Uh, that's
If it's like I could see this being, I mean, you can make it surge both ways, also immune pierce and melee. That would be certainly a
that'd
lot
be
better than it
yeah,
is right now.
yeah,
You know, um, I don't know. You could do a lot of wild things. You could be a hold the line, like you also like get a dodge token at the start of every turn. You like start the turn in melee because you're holding the line. I don't know. There's a
yeah.
lot of stuff you could do there. Um, frankly, I think, we can be in like conspiratorial, like this got left out intentionally.
I mean, if
Yeah.
they change it, then that would have been the reason.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe they just like wouldn't have talked about it because it would have been awkward to talk about like the idea that hey, we're still testing or like feeling out a change to hold the line. But I don't know.
I think with the amount of I feel like and I feel like we're getting into maybe future speak talk. So you let me
Yeah.
know if you need to reel me back in or not. But
Well, this
like
is related to Kallus. It's probably
yeah.
more related to Riot Control Squad though.
That's
Sure.
fair.
I feel like with the language they've been using around balancing and stuff, I don't think they would be making a change like this retroactive of this update, or like in lieu of this update. That feels really weird to me. Like I feel like we would still be waiting until the normal update for a change.
It really
I
does
mean,
make you wonder though, like, because there's I forget, like, did they say is a rule book coming out with the starter sets, like a printed rule book?
I I
I don't
if
think
there is, it's definitely in the box contents on the back of those boxes. And I don't have one of those handy, but I want to say no.
yeah. I
Because
think
go
oh
ahead,
go
Evan.
ahead. Go ahead, Evan.
No, you.
Oh, oh, me? Okay. No, you. Okay,
Right
so
ahead, sir.
I think it's I think it's like so there are the riot squad stands out there, and I don't say that mean. I mean that like, hey, you're living the dream. You're making them work.
They're
I know
trying,
you're Brendan from Inglorious
right?
Blasters, big riot squad guy. He's been doing it like his. I don't want to give away his secrets, but he's found some stuff to make it like interesting.
Yeah, you can
Uh,
kill like more than 25% of your squad to get him across the board. That's
yeah, I don't. No, no, no. Don't say anything. Don't worry about it. I desperately tried to make them work for me with like transports and shenanigans like that, and I just couldn't get them to like stay alive. Because when Magnus showed up or something, I'm like, oh, I'm dead.
yeah.
I get like they can't be. They're core units, so they shouldn't be incredibly good. But it also just kind of feels like when you're paying 100 something points, or like the two K2 KX security droids, like you're at 80 points, and they can't shoot, and they kind of die on the to get there. And then when you only have like four of them, like two robots and two dudes, it feels real bad to throw any attack dice. So if I were them, and there's been a lot of heat about Riot Squad being bad, and Empire's already kind of like, hey man, we wish we had stuff. Like we feel kind of bad as a faction right now. If I were them, I think I might do an emergency change just to like get this unit to see play and give some goodwill to Empire players.
Sure.
So because right now our melee unit is what like Vader. Uh,
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, I think your melee unit's Kallus now. I mean, frankly, his dice pool's
it's
not that different than Riot Control.
Yeah, you know what? It's
Uh,
funny. You throw
I,
tenacity on him, it gets pretty close.
Yeah.
yeah, I guess
Because it's like
it's
would be one
It's a
black
red
off.
and a black away. If you throw tenacity on him, it's one black die away. Like
yeah,
it's
that's fair.
Uh,
really and he's got lethal, which makes that pool way better. If you've got named
If
him.
you have aim, so it is
Yeah.
also not easy for Empire players. But I think that, by the way, to update folks, the back of the box says three inserts, which makes me probably not think that there's a rule book in there. It's
Uh
probably a scan this
Cardboard
to
pieces.
look at the rule book
Yeah.
sort of thing, which is, the same thing that they do for assembly.
Yeah.
Um, I imagine that printing a crap load of rule books for every starter would get fairly expensive. So I guess they may have decided. Boy, it's really interesting. Mike, I wish you had told me about that because I totally would have asked the Wills about it.
well, it was just like like
Yeah. Yeah.
there
It
were
felt like a
like 20
Uh,
different
we could
things
have.
that
I know there were
that
so many. I know there were so many things. So believe me, I'm not like upset that we missed one thing. I'm mad at myself more than anything because we could have had five scoops, Mike. We could have had more scoops. We need the scoops.
I want to
We
be
need for
very clear.
content.
I think we're
screw
I
you.
think we're getting people excited over nothing. I don't think Hold the Line's going to change. I think this is a mistake. I
That
want to
is
I
the
want to
most
underline
likely.
an exclamation point that um be
To be fair, it has not been answered on the rules form yet,
I think I hope it changes at least to
as of
get
this time
riots on the
recording.
table.
Yeah. So
But he
we
does also have interrogate, which is a keyword that only one other unit has I could think of, just the Inquisitors. I don't know how much it'll get used, but I think it's a cool keyword. It's
it'll
like
matter sometimes.
yeah.
I mean, it's definitely better on Callus than the Inquisitors, I think. Callus is actually something like
You want to play.
frankly, well, he's got his pool's kind of better than the Inquisitors are.
I so
No, it's not.
What do you
it's
He doesn't
like
have
mean?
natural peers, Mike.
it doesn't have natural
Let's
pierce,
get
but
real.
I
I don't
so
know,
I've been trying to
man.
make the Inquisitors work for a while on my secret
His
testing. That was
range pool is way
Two
better
Worlds.
for sure.
Uh, and Inquisitors just don't. and then I'm trying to play the Inquisitors, and then I see Ahsoka come out for like the same points, and I got really sad. Uh, and so I just shelved them, and then I just looked at Kallus, and I kind of took my mind off it. Uh, but I'm hoping maybe they'll get better.
I
Anyway,
mean,
that's not about them.
I agree that the value of the melee pool for Kallus is way above what the Inquisitors give. I mean, just in terms of like what you get for the points.
oh, that's sort of what I'm trying.
If that's what you
70
mean,
points.
then yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Well, and
Yeah,
I
70
think like
points.
I think this is maybe I'm not sure I'm on the Callus is fairly costed train. I think that this is definitely a unit that if
I,
Empire players might scream at me saying this, but I could see this unit being closer to 90 points,
Oh, I'd still
frankly,
pay 90 for them. Yeah, I'd still pay 90
that's the
points for this.
thing, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um, but I think if Callus is where they want like characters to come in as kind of like a heater, like real good, real efficient, looking good on all points, I think there's a lot of other characters that need to join the efficiency club, points
Oh,
wise.
sure. I don't disagree with that, but I think I would pay 90 for Callus, like easy, just for everything he does. But even at 70, like I've been building Empire lists and I've been throwing him in everything. He's almost making me like try to figure out ways to take short troopers, because that free like handing out an order to them, like pass it to a mortar, isn't like it's okay. It's like it's a cute trick, but they don't have target anymore, do they? They got rid of that, right? They just
No.
have okay, never mind.
But he is
Never
pretty
mind
good
mine.
in the I mean like when I say pretty good, I think Callus, let's imagine a world where super squads are competitively priced, right?
Yeah.
Callus with Vader and new ways to motivate them all of a sudden gets real scary very quickly,
Oh
right?
yeah, with a big squad, losing one dude's nothing. Right?
Right.
did
Okay.
they keep New
Whatever.
Ways as being compatible with HQ uplinks and direct, et cetera, et cetera?
I'm
Oh,
pretty
let's
sure they
find
did.
out.
We can double check.
New ways
I'm
to
checking.
motivate
I'm
them.
checking.
Uh, yes.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
the
it is still compatible. Yes, you're
Yeah.
right.
So,
That would be pretty good.
right, like that seems like also similarly, you don't even need new ways technically. You just would need to take them alongside Gideon. Like, but again, that would require super squads to be competitively priced. They've said that that is a goal that they have in the future. I could see that's when direct gets like bonkers, I think, is when all of a sudden you're able to get like face ups for ruthless and new ways and stuff like that.
I should say they're yeah competitively priced for something that's not a Geonosian Ewok or B2, which I think those are the only ones.
I think
Everybody else,
we could get into
yeah,
like some arguments on if
yeah,
they're competitively priced. I think they're obviously a lot closer.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
For me, they talk about super squads like they want like every army in the game to
It
have
seems
like
like it's a real
three in their
design goal for
list.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it feels like, and I'm sitting here like I don't know what you would need to price clone super squads at for me to take one of them. In once I take one, you're gonna have to make them real cheap in order for me to take anything more than one. And I feel the same way about the Empire stuff. I don't know. Um,
Yeah, I've been looking at the Stormtrooper Super Squad because I was going to buy a couple boxes. I was going to buy one of all the new sculpts just to see them. I've got so many Imperial at this point. But I'm like, well, Super Squad with the T21, because that's what it comes with, is sitting at 108, which is what you get 10 bodies for that. You're shooting 10 white. No, you're shooting more than 10 white dice. You're
Uh,
shooting
t-
like 13.
10 bodies for 13 white dice. I mean,
And 30 to crit kind of feels a little frivolous, but I just wanted the extra dice for cheap. So it's a little high. Maybe 80 I'd pay for that, I guess.
oh, yeah, that's the thing. I think 80 would be too low for a
Yeah,
T21 Super Squad, for sure. And I think that's the challenge that AMG has is that Super Squad costing is basically like when you buy an avocado and you're like intending for when am I gonna incorporate this into a meal? Because it's gonna be ripe if you like buy it on Tuesday, you're like it's gonna be ripe on Friday. And then you
yeah.
forget to use it on Friday, then Saturday hits and it's like all brown.
yeah.
And so
I
I think that I think the Super Squad costing is in the avocado zone.
'Cause, I mean, look at Black Sun Enforcers with Scattergun and Vigo at 98. I think I would always rather have that, like almost all the time, right? Uh, Better Dice Pool with Pierce, it's cheaper. And they feel like they could probably pick up most squads with a good rollout. It's like, I don't know. It's like, what would you pay for a super squad? I know we're getting a little off topic, but it's kind of like,
It's
Well,
relevant to Kallus.
it
yeah, to Cal's
matters.
point, it's like, what do you
Yeah,
do like direct? What do you direct?
right. The value of direct is going to go up with the value of the things that you're directing, and basically with him that is going to be when Riot Control Squad and when Super Squads for everything aside from Riot Control Squad, which does not have a personnel slot purposefully, I think. Uh, all of that stuff will make direct better. It is also worth mentioning that in those scenarios, that adding Gideon Hask will make that direct even better,
Hmm.
assuming that you're getting some other mileage out of it. Because at that point, then if you find a way to squeeze strict orders in, then that could actually make a pretty big difference in terms of your ability to control suppression. So
Rip aggressive tactics is all I got to say.
yeah, I mean, so we have to be clever about how we use the command slot these days. That's why we're talking about inspiring presence and strict orders, and obviously improvise is always good, et cetera, et cetera. But let us finish up by talking about the unit that got changed the most. Basically, the one unit that is completely a new unit. Like, it's very hard to find things other than his surge profile and his health and courage. Like
Yeah.
you can take that part, that's all the same. He's still a commander, unlike the other two. Everything else about Lando is totally different. So, Evan, what do you think about old Lando?
So, uh, overall, I think he'll see more play. I very rarely saw him before. I used to monkey around with him a little bit, but I just stopped. I don't remember particularly why. So I think he's an interesting commander because guidance trooper is like at least sometimes you don't want him to peek out because he's your commander, right? You take a little tricky shot and then he's safe from a more reprisal. So you can like guidance make another one move to get an agile on a rebel trooper. That's like not terrible. You can move fleets closer, so the next turn they can like move, and do some punching. There's like some chicanery there. His cards are way different now. I do miss Ace Up a Sleeve being able to give like Op Luke a standby. That used to be kind of fun. Idiots like I'll let you two know the meta a little bit more than I do for the cards, how relevant they'll be. But I do miss his 3-pip. So imagine this: you're watching a stream, World Tournament. Someone plays Callus's 3-pip, the old one, where it's like you had to gamble, you had to guess.
Lando's 3-pip. Yeah.
Yeah, Lando's 3. Well, I said Callus's. Yeah, sorry, Lando's. I got it all in my brain. Lando's 3-pip. You had to guess if it was going to be a crit or not, and it
Mhm.
mattered. 3 times you had to get it, and you're watching on stream as this players just rolling, getting that crit. Chat's going crazy. Everyone around the table's like clapping, going, "Oh!" Like having those moments of like a really sick say it again. Lando 3-pip, crazy dice roll. I never saw it happen. Don't think it ever did happen, but I thought that would be the card that people would want to see played, and it would draw conversation and talk because it was like you had to guess like how many crits are going to be in there, how many blocks are going to be in there. Oh, he'll only live if he gets a block on this roll, right? It was like a cool gamble, and I always thought that was like going to be like there'd be some wild moments that you'd watch back on stream as somebody like had this crazy roll off. That's gone. I mean, it's a lot less wordy. It's like more consistent now. But I'm kind of sad to see that like wild gamble go because I always thought that could have made some really cool moments. But
I think the two times that I remember that being used against me, they missed it completely.
oh, no,
That's
no,
generally what
no.
happens.
It
Yeah,
felt very appropriate. Um, so yeah, like you said, his command cards are very different. The 2-pip is still sort of the utility card,
yeah,
so to speak, instead of being like the auto order slash the free standbys. Now, basically, you can show his two pip, which counts as two pip for hand building, but it is actually a one pip. And so if you show that, then basically once you see your opponent's command card, you can switch it for something else. And so that's sort of the that's sort of the way that you can kind of manipulate the cards that are in front of you in that way. And that may matter mostly to enable his brand new keyword one step ahead. And Mike, I think it's probably good to at least enumerate that for the audience, just as a reminder of what that keyword does.
Yeah, so one step ahead can do one of two things. If you play a command card and your opponent, when you play command cards, if the pips on the command cards are different, Lando may make a speed one move before anything happens.
Hmm.
If the pips on the command cards are the same after you've like jimmied with them with change of plans or one step ahead or whatever, any of your allied units can make a speed one move. Um, Obviously, very powerful,
Yep.
um, super powerful, and I think I think both of those effects are pretty powerful. Like regardless of, I think there are times when you want one other than instead of
Yeah.
the other. I'm not sure uh, how easy it's going to be to trigger the anybody effect. I will say because Legion is shorter and like the game is faster, like you get into turn two and like unless your opponent has like a pretty scripted um like power play, like
Yeah.
everybody's
Powerful.
playing one pips, right?
Yeah.
Like we're getting in there, we're playing one pips, or turn three, we're playing one pips. Um, and you obviously have the ability to manipulate that with Ace Up his sleeve, even without other characters like Han or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, definitely very powerful ability. I think on his command cards, though, the one thing that I think there's one keyword that no one is talking about, and I don't understand why, that is hidden on his actual one pip, is the word incognito.
Oh yeah, that's super
Oh
good.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
And I haven't, everybody's like, this is good about Lando, that's good about Lando, whatever, whatever, whatever. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, he gets incognito for free. He's like the best rebel character in the game. He can't be shot if you don't want him to.
And it's
Yeah.
infiltrate
Yeah.
and incognito, we should mention.
Yeah.
And so
Like,
that's a divulge just for people who are forgetting what it is. And that's why it's easy to forget, right? Because it's a divulge that's at the bottom of the card. You have to sort of like be looking at it purposefully. And it's functionally two extra keywords on them, right?
yes, it is,
Yeah.
it is,
Two very good extra keywords, I should say.
you're never not taking this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
I incognito is kind of just an insane keyword. Generally, it's never really been on a super relevant unit. I think the most relevant unit is probably K2, who it's good on. But
Hmm.
K2 is also like a lot less of an effective piece on the game board than Lando, right? Like Lando is doing a lot for you. And the fact that if you want, you can just like hold him kind of in the back, like doing like supporty stuff with guidance and one step ahead and command cards, and you're just like, you can't shoot this piece.
Yeah.
Period. End of story. Like you have that option. Is insane for a rebel character.
Yeah, because
And
it's like my issue with Legion, that a lot of other war games have had issue like fixes for or do different things is you can't really hide a support unit or a support character too well. And so a lot of times, like Leia, for example, like she's doing handing out dodges or whatever. But if I have range, I can shoot her no matter what, really. And like you can do Chewie, you can do backup, but it's not like in other games, like it's you have to shoot the closest thing, or you can't shoot a hero if they're under a certain amount of hit points, so you can't like just snipe out a healer or something. But Legion's never had that. Legion's like you can see you can shoot it. Sorry, like there's no your stormtrooper takes a shot through like 30 rebel troopers and can hit the girl in the back, right? It's like crazy. So like this is cool that your support piece can kind of like if you're on a bad side of a board, You're not just like, oh, and I put down Lando. Oh, and I pick him up. Cool, thanks. All right, awesome. Like you can kind of just be there, and he can just be guiding, or you give him like um, handing out a dodge, take cover. You can take cover, and he can like hand out a dodge too, and just be a little like just generator of like. I think that's really good.
And because he is steady, it means that you can use him as one of your earlier deployments in such a way like you can basically just put him in the middle early on because he's going to be safe because of
Yeah,
incog. And then starting in round two, you can start shifting him toward whatever side is going to be better for him. And being like strategically, the value in that is enormous, right? Like
yeah,
there's all sorts of times when you would want to sort of deploy something early and in the middle in such a way that it could pivot towards one side of the field or the other. But usually by doing that, you would actually, especially if you do that like relatively far up the field, you would be exposing them to getting hit
yeah,
with one of their early game deploys. And with Incog, you don't have to worry about that, which means that because like next turn, you're probably going to be double moving, but that's a double move with a steady shot at the end of it. And like that in and of itself is really good. Rebels already have an issue with like order control round one is like a puzzle that Rebel lists basically need to solve for most of their lists.
yeah,
And Lando does make that puzzle a little bit easier. And yeah, like the value of being able to deploy a unit and not worry about return fire is really huge. And like up until now, really the only unit that has felt that value has been K2. The pro droids have it too, but since they're often going to be near Maul and you want to hide him,
I
it
don't think
often
their
feels like it doesn't matter.
comms relay is gone, bro. I don't
Yeah,
think.
comms relay is gone, and then the silliest incognito is on Chewie the ATST because I don't know many scenarios where like I'm not gonna shoot with Chewie in
yeah.
one of the 5 rounds of the game that I have. Um,
It's worth noting that like
yeah.
his command card effects, Corellian Spike and Idiot's Array,
Hmm.
don't break incognito.
You are correct.
They are
Yeah,
not attacks.
the effects do not. Yeah.
So you can like Corellian Spike somebody and like hand them immobilized tokens
Hmm.
with incognito still up, which is just like really good. His one pip, I know that we haven't like read it out loud or anything. I would encourage everybody to take a look at it. It's got a lot of text on it.
A lot of
Basically
text.
allows you to like lock down other units with immobilized tokens. There's like the potential drawback that you also get immobilized, obviously. Um, but it's pretty likely that
They'll at least have one.
probably two. You're rolling two red dice, like surges
Oh, that's
and
fair. That's fair. Yeah.
you know surges through blank, anything but a crit. If I don't know.
The fact that it's at the start of his activation does make it extra risky. Like you would have to play plan ahead if you're going to be using Corellian Spike.
I
But
actually don't think it's risky, um,
if
because
if Incog
because
is still up, it's less risky.
and you can use one step ahead to Jimmy with like sort of like because it's not the start of the activation phase, it's the start of his activation, right? So like the
Right.
beginning, you can kind of
Like
like
jump out and jump
one
in.
step
Yeah.
ahead yourself to like get a free move out there and then like do the thing and then run backwards real quick. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair.
Uh,
And yeah, I mean he does get 2 immobilized tokens, so for whatever it's worth, he would not be moving. Uh,
only he only gets
only
immobilized tokens
if you roll
if
a
you
crit on 2 dice,
yeah, yeah.
which I mean, but hey, that happens sometimes, right? Um, I've, I'm not good enough at math to remember the exact odds of getting like 1 crit on 2 dice, but
It's roughly 25%.
yeah, so that's gonna happen, and it's something you would have to plan ahead for. But I think that Lando is really neat to summarize my feelings because he's so new. There's a lot of varieties of utility, and I think that there are strategies that we haven't thought of that we're gonna see like used on the field. And he also gets better the more options, like the more rebels come out in the future, like his opportunities for synergy are just going to go up and up. So yeah, like I think we haven't even mentioned like having built-in allies of convenience is cool.
Yeah, that's super good.
And then, exactly as he's basically exactly as survivable slash not survivable as he was before. Like a little bit less than Han. His uncanny luck is only two instead of three,
I
but
mean, incognito.
you're right. I'm sorry. Incognito, that
Like,
does change everything. And then
like,
also, unlike Han, he does have steady, but also unlike Han, he has infiltrate, which means that like you really get to explore the space in terms of what side of the field is Lando going to be going towards. And true to his character, I think it's probably going to be the side of the field that has less guns on your opponent's
Yeah.
side. It's going to be the one that he's actually heading towards, just because that's going to be where he's less likely to get totally one shot, which is absolutely something that can happen once Incognito is off. And
yeah,
friendly reminder to players out there, this is going to be even more than before. It's going to be a reminder about the way that the rules work. A handy way to break Incognito if you're coming in is to forward cohere so that your unit is at range one, even if your leader is not.
yeah.
So if you K2 barely been out there, so especially newer players may not know about that little trick. But let me tell you, back in the day when K2 is literally everywhere,
Yeah.
it was important to know about that one.
Conveniently, one step ahead can draw Lando back exactly that distance.
That is true. Yeah. So and yeah,
See,
that.
that's why the super squads, because you can cohere
Oh
within.
man, you're right. The
That
super
is
See, there
true.
squads,
we go. We figured it out.
they can just
Sorry,
yeet
Lando.
one stormtrooper way the hell up there. It's like
Um,
you go over there.
I would like to just kind of put one cautionary notice on Lando, and that
Sure, sure.
is that is this guy has 105 points. That is not cheap for a rebel hero,
Hmm.
and he is not an efficiency bat. He is not like if you don't have a good plan or use his abilities to do kind of like wonky and crazy things, he is not worth the
You
105
you will not
points
get
you're
the
gonna
value out of
pay.
him
He
if you have no
he's
plans.
yeah, this is Han Luke territory price
Yeah.
range, like and he is not not super combat capable, frankly.
No.
He's got steady, he might kill a couple dudes, but he doesn't have Pierce. He's got no aims for his long shot. Maybe you throw offensive push on there for like a one use effect if you've got some extra points, right? Hanging around. But um, that is not what he does. Which I think I want to say that because I think old Lando is actually pretty good at combat. At least for like he was very good at like finishing units and scoping them.
He's good at that, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think he wasn't terrible at like kind of doing that sort of thing for his cost. Um, this Lando is very similar Yoda vibes, but like in weird ways. I don't think you're going to use guidance that
He
often,
he's a
frankly.
utility commander, and yeah, I think guidance is going to be for the odd time that you need to like guidance or recover on a nearby panicked rebel trooper,
I think guidance is
or
going to be
guidance a
like
move.
I think guidance is going to be like I one step ahead my fleets, I guidance them
Oh
immediately,
yeah,
and then
To
I double move charge you.
to
yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's fair. Okay. So yeah, like I think that there's basically to put all three of them together, Lando, very interesting, Kallus, very efficient, Jin, very controversial.
Yeah, I think Callus is
Yeah.
definitely good.
Yeah.
Lando is probably good. And I think Jin maybe I think Jin you're everybody's gonna lose a game to Jin. But I think on the whole, I'm not convinced she's actually good. Like she's definitely gonna be the piece that like, 1 in 5 games, you're gonna be like, Jin completely blew this game out of the water and made it so that I couldn't win. The other 80% of them, I feel like are not going to matter, but I could be wrong about that.
I'm just gonna feel bad when she gets punched to death by B1s. Like they get like three. You spend a dodge, you roll two blanks, she takes two. Next turn they get like four.
Yeah.
Unlucky roll, you dodge one, three blanks, she dies. You're gonna be like, oh man, this feels bad. This feels really bad. I honestly, okay, controversial take on a lot of stuff. So clone commandos have the get out of jail free card, right? Like, hey, I took more than one damage. I'm going to spend this card, the
Katana,
armor,
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Katana
katana
armor.
armor.
I have always wanted, deep in my heart, that heroes got some sort of similar ability.
Oh,
Uh,
they would never die.
I know. Well, sometimes like I don't know, man. Like if you spend 200 points on Vader, feels real bad when he takes like four from Rebel Troopers punching him when he gets like a bad rollout. I just like for those white save units particularly, I always wanted some like when I saw that I'm like, oh, that's interesting design space they're willing to go into. It'd be really cool if some of these white save like bounty hunters could really use like Cad Bane, man, he just ooh baby, he
He's
just gets
definitely on the list of things that should have been updated in this update.
uh,
Yeah,
probably
Cad Bane came out the other side of this, and maybe the roughest shape of any unique character in the game.
yeah, he
Ooh,
just range two like
worse than
it's
the Inquisitors? I don't know, man.
Inquisitors can still take force push, I guess, or force choke or something. Burst
Inquisitors can
speed.
use their commands without losing all of their survivability, which is not something that Cad Bane can do.
Yeah, that's
Sorry,
I just feel like white save heroes could use something similar because man, a lot of times it just feels bad to get one shot from like not even a crazy roll. But again, that's way off topic. But I was just thinking about it with Jin. I'm like, man, wouldn't it have really been terrible to have like a rebellions are built on hope or something, or like hope hero of the rebellion, you get one get out of jail free card. If you take more than two, you just take two or something.
to that point, I have been thinking about this a little bit. I'm not sure it's worth it or not, but I do think that like Jin's whole shtick is I'm in melee with you, so you can't do other things. I could see taking stims on her maybe so that she can, continue to like make it so that you can't do your other thing. Um,
Yeah,
It would give her 7 health effectively for at least like one turn,
yeah, and I
right?
mean like you just like, if the whole point is she's like trying to tie down a unit, you just like stick an order on her that round and don't go with her until that unit has had to go, right?
right.
Um, is it, I don't know. I'm not sure at that point she's what, 83 before other upgrades. That's a lot. That's like 5-man arc medic territory.
The real thing, everything should be the cost of the guest is
I
5 man
mean,
arithmetic.
seriously though, right?
Yeah,
Like, that's 8 points more than a sleeper cell. Like,
yeah, and I think I'd rather have a sleeper cell, like just about
I mean,
always.
let's be clear. Sleepers, you want sleeper cell over anything else in
Yeah,
the army.
let's
Yeah,
be
yeah,
clear. We're all of these discussions about Jin being on a list. The hopefully you either have two sleepers and one Ewok or three sleepers before you're ever thinking about putting Jin in that list.
yeah, that's fair.
Personally,
I mean, they kind of like the staging is like, well, sleeper cells kind of feel like they were the ones at that scene in Rogue One, right when they ambushed the occupier,
Yes.
the tank.
Mhm.
So I'm like, okay, cool. At least thematic, it works. You can have Jin, three of those, and they got to pick something to deal with. But I just don't think Jin's. I know she's 75 points. You got to think of her in like that context. She's not like 200. Like, is she scary enough that if she gets a melee or something, do you go, and you're just like, all right, well, that's tying her down, I guess. I'll go do something else with these. Like when Kallus gets in my line, I'm like, sad,
yeah,
angry.
I think that Callus is going to affect like your opponent's sort of like board decisions more than Jin is. I think.
Yeah, I mean,
But
Jin could be completely busted, I guess, and I could be really wrong. But I guess I just need to play her or play against her to see how I really feel about it. Um, but on the whole, I'm like, I'm not super jazzed, but
I could
I don't know,
see
man.
I could see her coming down 10 points. If she was 65, I think that this would be a lot more reasonable. I think she's like, I don't know.
Well, I there's going to be Jin. The Jin fans have been waiting to play her, and there's a
Oh,
lot of these
sure,
people out there. So
absolutely. Like, your time
they're
is
gonna
now.
finally get
I
their
Right.
chance.
What I will say is that I do think that she's cheap enough that I think people are gonna make her look good, even though she's actually not great. And what I mean by that is like, I don't think it's a stretch to just take like an ATRT out of like all these good Rebel lists and put Jyn Erso in, and like they
In what
still
free
win.
operative slot would you do that though,
Sure,
Mike?
I mean that's fair. Maybe I don't know. But I think that
The Opluke list maybe could do that.
I am suspect of while sleeper cells exist, evaluating her like goodness in lists that are just like kind of still playing into that dichotomy. But I don't know.
I mean, that would be an interesting question for old Brian Bear, right? Like in his top four worlds list, if he could change out any TRT for Jin, would he do it? I bet he
Right.
would say no,
Yeah, I think
personally,
so.
but but because he would have room for her, because Op Lucas is only operative. Um, but
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like maybe, but I just like how many more games do you win having Jin over an ATRT or whatever that other thing that is she's taking the spot of? Like, there's a lot of things in Rebels in the 70 to 80 point
yeah,
value that like you can kind of one for one swap out, right? And
right.
I think most of them are better than her outside of like being able to like in that one moment where you're like, oh man, independent agile like ties up this unit, and because that unit's tied up, like it can't do this like really, really important thing, and
Yeah, yeah.
she's got to be in the right place and not dead, and I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a
All
lot of
right.
qualifiers.
Well, we will see what the results show. Speaking of, we were talking about Rogue One, been talking about Jin a lot. Uh, we're gonna be moving on to our final gentleman, our final minis of Memoriam. Now, we've been doing this for like 4 months now, and originally it was all about all these releases were falling off the Asmodee store, and we didn't really know what the story was going to be about re-releases. Now we know the story about re-releases, and there's still a few things in the Asmodee store. I don't think that it's gotten to the point where it's like a lot less interesting to talk about the things that are gone because like almost everything in
Yeah,
terms of
it's
the
pretty barren.
previous
Yeah.
releases on the Asmo store, and obviously we're gonna have more coming up. Um, it'll be it'll be sort of like gritting our teeth to see like how many units are going to be in the like clone commando zone where they're very good, but the re-release is like in 2026 or beyond. I think the hope, obviously, it's good that like B2 won't be in that zone anymore because they're coming out in the summer, I think, and that there's a couple others, but uh, rather, so we're going to be doing away with this segment. This is going to be the last time, but instead of
Probably.
focusing on
This
like
is
old
probably the
boxes,
last
yeah,
time.
probably the last time I should say. No one's ever really gone, right? But
Yeah.
this time we're going to focus on the minis that are actually in Memoriam, which is, and this is one of the big reasons we brought you on, Evan, because you're one of the best people I can think of to say goodbye to one mini in particular. But Mike, for the last time for now, we're going to be firing up that sad copyright free piano music. That and we're just going to keep looping it until we're done talking, Mike. Um, so yeah, first up, this is the this is the mini that is sort of like semi in memoriam. In memoriam, I should say, is the generic commanders, both rebel and imperial, and then the generic super tac. Um, Funny enough, the generic super tac ended up like being the best one, at least while it was legal.
Yeah.
But and so now you have to pay more for Kalani, and I feel most players, including me, I think are going to be like, I really just wish I could have the old super tag back. It's a small difference as far as the rebel and imperial ones go. I don't think anybody's really going to miss them. Veers and Leia and Krennic to a certain extent like
Pretty
fill the
close.
role of exemplar person now, and they're barely more expensive than they were. But before we move on to like the real ones, and by the way, you still can use those minis. That's why they're sort of Memoriam. You can use them as unit upgrades. Probably not all that often, to be honest with you, but you can do that.
Yeah,
Is there anything you guys wanted to say about the generics?
I feel like this is a point. Well, I'll have a little. I got a little speech about Palpatine when we get to him.
All right, yeah,
Uh, I get a little thing about him, but like this is the point where it's like I kind of wish they held, or they pushed up the release for the generics. So they say, hey, these are going away, but we got these right now. You can buy these new guys, so it wouldn't even matter. It's like, yeah, whatever. I'll get rid of this generic guy I didn't like anyway, so I can have this cool me. I made me in this game, right? So I don't miss them because it's like, well, we got cool stuff coming. I just wish it was sooner. So it's like,
yeah. It's gonna be like 3 months where we don't have a generic option, and then all of a sudden we'll have like way more generic options than we had before. So I don't think that one's so bad. But yeah, like get into the real stuff. Pathfinders. We were just talking about the concept of a Rogue One battle force. Uh, this one, Evan, I'm gonna go to you first again. Why do you think Pathfinders are out? Because that is the most open question to me out of all of this.
um, I feel like they just. It sounds really mean to say this. They just didn't know what to do with them. It's like they weren't. Everyone played him with Biston, but no one ever played him with Pow that I saw. Unless you were like going for it, you're like all Rogue One all the time. Uh, they were cool with the infiltrate. I just feel like a battle force would make sense. Like, hey, we got new sculpts, or we got a whole rework of them. Um, it's strange that the heavies like Pow and Biston didn't get turned into like upgrades, kind of like Inferno Squadron. I
I
found that kind of interesting.
I think you can pretty easily and probably tournament legally use Biston as a Z6 and Bow as a DLT in your Rebel
Oh
Trooper
yeah.
squads.
Oh, if anyone ever showed up to a game and they were using Pathfinders as core and those were the heavies, yeah, who cares? Like, yeah,
Yeah,
they're absolutely do it. Like, it's cool. Like, I bought 3 Pathfinders when they came out because I didn't know that there's only two. Like, you can only really play two. You could play three, but a naked Pathfinder squad's pretty terrible. So I have to think it's a Battle Force coming with a whole rework to them to make them something like a whole renaming. Maybe they won't be Pathfinders anymore. They'll be like Rogue One specialists or something. I'm not super sure. That it has to be Battle Force.
I
Otherwise, I don't really know why.
I just had a thought, Mike. Tell me what you think of this.
Mhm.
What if a let's assume that maybe there's going to be a Baze and Chirrut box in the future where it's like a duo box, just like the Inquisitors.
Sure.
And then maybe a timed release with that is a Rogue One Battle Force PDF, and that the thing that they're going to do is to have a special issue of Rebel Troopers called Pathfinders. And then that's going to be the way that they get them back in the game, but that they therefore they don't need to like do a box that says Pathfinders, but instead it'll be just like the EXD Magna core. Is that it will functionally bring Pathfinders back, but without the need to like get into the wacky zone of a whole other special forces slot for them. Do you think that's possible?
I think it's possible. I actually think that the most likely thing that's happening here is that we are about 24 hours away from meeting a lot of these unnamed Pathfinder characters in Andor season two.
Hmm.
Oh yeah,
Um, and at least from when we're recording this, by when people are listening to this, the first 3 episodes of Andor season two, or however many it is, will be out.
Yeah, that's right.
Um, I
Super
think
excited.
I would be very surprised. I think this season's going to explore a lot more of like Cassian actually in the rebellion. And I think we're going to meet a lot of the people that end up on Scarif. Cassian obviously suggests in Rogue One that he knows those people pretty well to Jin when she's like talking to them and about them. And I think uh, I would be super surprised if I think the reason Pathfinder sunsetted was because when it came time to like get this pass through LFL was like, well, I don't know why you're doing this because in 4 months you're gonna have 20 characters that fit this description, and they're all gonna have names and backstories and
Very
random
Star Wars. Yeah.
stuff
Yeah,
and like and at that point, like, do you really want to re-release this unit? I mean, you can, but we're gonna give you something better to work off for source material,
Yeah.
right? So
That track.
my expectation is that's probably the reason.
I
Whether
think so
there's
too.
a new like unit like in the canon ready to launch, I think is maybe a question. Generally speaking, like I don't think they get a lot of foreknowledge of like what Disney is releasing in their media beforehand. But
Correct.
hey, May the
In
4th
rare
is right
instances, they
around
do.
the corner.
Yeah.
Maybe we get a surprise announcement from them that's like, hey guys,
Yeah.
like this
Yeah.
is like sort of coinciding with the Andor season finale. We've got this new cool unit that I don't know.
I think that the difference between Pathfinders and the next two that we're going to talk about is that I think that is there's very likely, in my opinion, going to be a explanation in terms of release strategy and all of that in terms of why they did this.
I'm not sure if
Uh,
we'll get an explanation. It will be
well, I think it will be
factually clear.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. That's what I mean is that the facts will speak for themselves, and the more you think about it from a like recognizability standpoint on the table, is there really all that much different about what a Pathfinder looks like compared to a Rebel Trooper?
Not
Like they're
really.
they're like dudes and ladies in trench coats, um, and or like it's sort of like jungle camo, and so they're not that visually distinct to start out with. I think
No.
the biggest distinction was from a gameplay perspective, and that is something that can be replaceable however they want to do it, be it a special issue or a future release, something like that. So I would say that for those for those folks out there who were sort of like Pathfinder fans, I think that you're going to be sated by the time we sort of like are like looking back in a couple years. Is that I think we will see why this happened. That said, let's move on. Let's move on to the big ones,
Yeah.
and we'll talk about them together because they obviously go together. Um, and I'm going to preface this before we go to Evan for like the funeral speech here. I'm going to preface this by saying one of the things that this is going to be a weird metaphor, but stick with me. Uh, when you are trying to look at the back of somebody's eyeball with one of those little scopes, I'm getting real doctory here. Mike, I see the face you're making, but I promise
I
that I'm getting to something here. Okay, so when you're trying to look at the back of somebody's eyeball, their retina, you might say, um, the way that you have to do it, because like it's all, unless you have special equipment, you have to like look through a tiny hole. And what you have to do is that you have to like use this thing to scan around the entire back of the eyeball with only seeing a tiny hole at any given time. And that is basically how I felt about like the explanation for why Palpatine and IRG ended up getting out of this game from the standpoint of the various interviews that they did, including our own. Uh, Will Shick hopped on to Discord to like chat with some folks, and putting all of that together, I basically by seeing like little snippets, I think I've basically sort of formed a picture.
You've seen the
Maybe
whole
like
eyeball. Okay.
an easier example would probably have been a jigsaw puzzle, but uh, so yeah, I got to that one a little bit late. Either way, I think that I really sort of see what it is now, and I do think that even though it's true that they are trying to like utilize the high command set to replace a lot of the function of Palpatine at the very least, um, not IRG obviously, but unless Tarkin's going to have charge in Guardian, but you never know.
seems
Um,
unlikely.
yeah, maybe it'll be General Tag. But It is true that they're trying to replace that function, but I think that the whole reason that they felt the need to replace that function is because they've known that this was going to be an issue for a while. And it seems clear to me, having consumed all this other stuff, it seems clear to me that Lucasfilm did not like the concept of Palpatine and his royal guards being on the ground commanding an army. Yes, it's true that in Battlefront games that happens all the time, but those are video games, and I think LFL doesn't really like care about that. I get the feeling that by the way, I'm gonna try to like see if I can write a story on this if I ever get the proper sourcing. And so like if you want to reach out to me, docvelo at thefifthtrooper.com, by the way. Um, but I think that LFL is basically being more stringent than they were whenever they approved Palpatine and IRG for the first time, which would have been like 7 years ago, by the way.
Yeah.
A lot can change in that time. And I think that they just didn't like it. And I think that Atomic Mass had the challenge that I'm not jealous of figuring out how to do this at the right time. They knew it was going to make people mad, but also we need to remember that they are not Disney. They're in a contract with Disney, and that they very much don't want to piss off Disney. And so I think that they've been trying to toe this line of alluding to what happened without being able to outright say it. And that's my point of view. I don't have inside information on this. All I have is what we've heard from all the same things that you guys may have heard. So that is my preface in terms of I'm hoping that we can stop the conspiracy theories, because why would rationally, why would AMG do this thing that they knew was going to make a lot of people upset, if there was a way around it at all? Is like that's the way I would think about it. And now, Evan, with that all that being said, I'm going to pass it on to you, and I want to hear your point of view on everything, including that, if you want to talk about that.
Oh, sure. So, yeah, it's tough. So I got a few topics on this. One, I want to tell my story about my Palpatine. My buddy, who I used to talk about Legion a lot with him, because he didn't play. I just didn't have anyone to talk to about it, so he just kind of got to listen. He
Yeah.
didn't play miniature games, but for one Christmas, he bought me Palpatine, and he painted it himself. He's never painted a miniature in his life. He bought all the paint, and he gave it to me, and it's rough. It's like a first model ever painted kind of thing, but it's
Sure.
of not Skeletor, Mum Ra from Thundercat.
Mumra,
Yeah,
awesome.
so he did Mum Ra, and I'm like, that's incredibly sick. And so the model that I was given has a lot of sentimental value to me.
Yeah.
And I played it at Worlds. I played that in Palpatine, Vader, because I thought it was cool. I was trying to get Inquisitors to work. I just gave up on it. I'm like, this sucks. I'll just do Vader, Palpatine. I don't have any reps in, so at least this will be funny. It was fun the first day. Second day was not. But even I put on a hood. I was giving people Kyber crystals and like doing Palpatine things. I even filled it full of
It was
Kyber
great.
crystals.
It was hilarious. I got a red one. I was really excited.
Oh yeah, like I will, because Palpatine cheats, so I filled it full of red as well as some other stuff. So I'm like,
Yeah.
it's kind of like the fun bit of it. I try to make
Yeah.
all the events I go to a little bit quirky, and so that model meant a lot to me. So when I played with it, I was like, that's my buddy Howie. Like, he doesn't play in miniature games, but it was like he was kind of like not there with me. He's not gone or anything, but it was just like, it's cool. Like, someone did something very kind for me and went out of their comfort zone to do that. And so I find it particularly ghoulish when people like drop he didn't belong in the game anyway. Like, why? It doesn't make any sense why this
I
stuff
don't
is
like
there.
that.
It's
I
like,
agree with you.
because it's just like, there are some people who just play one faction,
Yeah.
right? I'm a whale, so I play everything. So if something stinks, I just go, well, guess I'm moving over here. But like to have one really good thing, IRG being pulled, and then Palpatine 2, and then also looking at like the state of the faction, which is like not great right now. I get that they battle forces are winning, and there's still ways to play Empire competitively,
Yeah.
and da.
There's
But
fewer options now, either way.
there's fewer options, and like I just think it's very cruel to mock those people who are upset. I mean, there's reasonably upset, being like, oh man, and you just like, I'm sad this happened.
Yeah.
Without being an absolute troll or like, flying your top off on an internet forum post, which always works. always gets what you want.
People who do that should get zero attention anyway,
Yeah, it's just
regardless
like,
of yeah.
but for people who are just generally upset, like, man, that sucks. Palpatine's like my favorite character. You know, it's like because he's can be he's unapologetically evil. His
Yeah.
plan when he died was Project Cinder was just to keep killing. Bad, why not? Like I'm dead. What do I care? Like he's just like comically evil to the point where it's fun. You know, because it's just
Yeah,
whatever.
he
So
basically is Mumra.
yeah, exactly right. He's just like just there for the good times of being Palpatine, and it's like I take umbrage with people who are like laughing at people who are upset, or like there's a post from a famous website that came up that said you shouldn't have been in there anyway. You're all crazy, and I found that wild and very distasteful. It's like, man, like they don't want to take the toys away. Like, why would they? You know, as a company, like, do you think 40K likes taking models away? They do whatever they can not to, and when they do, it's like a big deal when they remove like TAC Marines or whatever from now it's all Primaris or whatever, right? Like it's like you never want to take models away because it's people get very attached to them because you bought them, built them, painted them. Now Palpatine's an old man holding a cane. You know, he's not like
So is Yoda though.
yeah, not like a super like a lot of detailed model. But I saw some people used to have like lightning to his hands or
Oh
like
yeah, people did a lot of mods that were like really cool.
were really fun.
Um, and same for
It,
his Royal Guard also.
oh, dude, yeah, like it was really cool. So it's sad to see them go, and I hope that he influences the game in other ways. Like maybe you pay so many points as a command upgrade, and you can have like influence of Palpatine, and you get a couple Palpatine cards that you can play as like I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, but like uh, I think it's sad to see them go. I find it sad when people make fun of people who are upset about it, and I just feel like it's toys, man. Like people get really invested in these. Like, don't be mean to each other. I feel like that's really strange. I have to say that to a bunch of mostly adults. Mostly demographic is mostly male adults. It's just kind of what it is for miniature games and Star Wars particularly. So just stop it. Like just stop. I really hate to have to say this, but it's like if you're gonna type something, just don't like because this kind of stuff when I go to events, people don't talk like that to each other. When I'm at these
No.
events,
This
people are
is
like,
this
"Oh
is
man,
purely internet rage for the most
Yeah,
part.
for
yeah,"
sure.
like it's really crazy. So it's like when I go to events, I'm sure the next one I go to, I think will be in Knoxville. Um, yeah, like no one's gonna be like, haha, like your palp's gone. Huh. Like if he did, he gets slapped. I just like I don't like it's just crazy to me. So I'm very sad to see him go because that model had a lot of sentimental value to me. And I also just think people are being overly cruel to each other over a piece of plastic. And I feel like that's a really weird line to draw on the ground. And you really got to reevaluate what your goal is to be in this community. Like I'm here for the game, mostly game a little bit, community a lot. I really like Legion community. But if you're just there to be like a troll and mean and you don't
And
do anything, like I don't know, man.
to be fair, I think probably most of that stuff, and maybe there's a reason I haven't seen like a ton of that, but I think most of that stuff is on like Facebook and Reddit, right? I mean, in
Yeah.
Oh
terms of
sure,
people being rude
it
to
is.
each other. I see I haven't seen very much of that at all in Discord. I think that there's been some a lot of like communal sympathy for the Empire and like certainly some memes about Empire balance.
Yeah.
But I don't think I would ever like want to like make a joke or a meme
Yeah,
about
it's just poor
making fun
taste.
of Palpatine being on because yeah, like a lot of people are really attached to it, and I say again, I I rationally don't think that Atomic Mass would have done this if they really had a
No,
choice about it.
no. I it just doesn't make sense. Like, why would you want this heat? Because
Yeah,
they knew it'd be like,
No.
it's like if you went to honestly, it the same kind of level of taking away as if you went to Rebels and you say, we don't need Han anymore. Han and Chewie, we'll just take them. We just feel like it. Like no, like it. Then would you then go to the rebels and be like, haha, Han didn't belong in the game anyway because he's a smuggler on a ship and he wouldn't go like no, that's silly. Stop it. Stop it.
yeah.
So it's like I don't know, man. It's like no one likes to see stuff get taken out. I don't agree with it. but I also understand that if they probably out of their hands. So I'm
Yeah. I suspect that part of this is that I think right now or within the last year and a half or whatever was probably not the best time to ask LFL to redo like a Palpatine license.
yeah,
As
yeah,
far as like the last movie didn't really go over very well. It was very mainly because of, you know, uh,
yeah,
that plot point. I could totally see in 5 years when the next edition of this game gets launched or whatever, that they Palpatine could get greenlit, Like I
yeah,
don't.
All it takes is different personnel in the
That's
licensing
the thing.
department.
I
yeah,
think that like right now, I suspect LFL is particularly sensitive to
Yeah,
renewing anything relevant to Palpatine licensing, for good reason. Because they majorly that whole movie was just like really botched, and that was like like
yeah.
maybe let's kind of sweep him under the rug and not try and talk about him as little as possible, right? Um, and I think one thing that I do want to say to everyone in the room is that this is a new edition of a miniatures game. The next time we get a new edition, this is probably going to happen again to
Yeah.
other
It's
units. I want to kind of normalize this a little bit because in every other war game that exists, like
menus
this
disappear.
things.
this
Yeah, things come and
happens.
go. Yeah,
It's in frankly in other war games they like disappear on a much larger volume and
yeah.
scale generally.
Factions disappear sometimes. Yeah.
Factions disappear. Like, and I'm not saying that we should expect factions to disappear. I'm not
No,
saying that like you
Yeah,
should expect that to be the norm, but I do think that we need to be clear about the messaging and that like this is a new edition. The next time there's a new edition, like at least be thinking about it, right?
yeah,
Like be
yeah,
going through it. Like this was always a possibility from the get-go. I think part of that was like their messaging around this whole thing from the start was like this isn't a new edition, but it actually was.
yeah.
Like
I
yeah,
wonder back then if another thing that came out in the interviews was that I feel like the finality of the Palpin IRG thing probably happened sometime between like September-ish and whenever and it was probably like the finality of it happened between uh actually like April and September last year, right? When you think of all the lead times that you have to deal with. Because they did keep Palp and IRG in the game,
yeah,
so to speak, when 2.6 first came out, even though it did come out partially. You know, they took upgrades away when that happened, like the DC-15. We didn't mention that one, but like that instantly went away in July. Obviously, much less of a huge deal, but um, I think that another thing that became clear in the interviews was that they were, I think that they may have been still like negotiating, but something that Will Schick said on the Winter Moon podcast was that there does get to be a point where if you're working with another body in a partnership, one that has the sort of like certainly has the financial upper hand, and that you're dependent on them way more than vice versa.
yeah,
There is a point at which if they have their foot down on something, you are like kind of risking the relationship in totality if
yeah.
you like push them on it.
That was the
And
comment that really made me feel like
totally.
this was
yeah.
like there's somebody in LFL licensing that's like Palpatine. It's just not a good time for Palpatine. Like come back and ask us 4 years from now.
I did think it
Um,
was wild when, if you look back at the stream, I think someone, whoever was moderating the AMG chat, someone said, "Make Palpatine great again," and they pinned that comment. Like
uh,
as the stream started, I saw that and I'm
whoops.
like, "What?" I
Oh
started remembering
no.
that. Like,
Oh
why would
no.
you do that?
Yeah.
Well,
Oh
it's
Lord.
probably that makes it even better that I was happily at a hospital working instead of watching that
Oh
stream
yeah,
when it first came out.
that stream comment
Um,
section was wild.
Yeah.
but I think that let's let's end by maybe each of us can like sort of share. I'll probably try to keep it to like one thought each about what is your feeling on Legion right now. So we have memorialized the fallen, and we have some new stuff. So this episode was about the old and the new in a lot of ways. Talked about the new first, and then talking about those that have passed after. But Evan Bulriss, where do you think Legion is right now?
Um,
What's the emoji that describes your Legion feelings at the moment?
uh, okay, emoji. Oh man, it's gonna be the
I,
cowboy hat with the
I
straight lip. Just the
perfect. I knew you could nail that.
The Cad
I.
Bane.
So I don't dislike it, but I don't love it. So I'm kind of in this thing where I'm like, look, I we keep. It's really easy to say, oh, it'll get better when the rest of the rules drop. Well, it'll get better when the course it's come out. We get the credit commanders. Well, it'll get better, like the kick in that can, right? It has been getting better, but I don't. I'm really hoping the relaunch of OP kits because we really haven't had those in a long time. The relaunch of getting like creative commanders, there's a lot of excitement around that. I'm really
For
excited
sure.
by those.
For sure.
And like they showed Hondo big. I want a whole Weequay command. Just give me Weequay pirates, Hondo, a couple of those tanks, and I'm good. Like the future looks very bright, and I'm excited for the content. But right now, I'm not super in love with it. I still like the game, but I also will say this: it's okay to take a break. It's okay to
Yeah.
like just be like, I'm looking at Trench Crusade right now. I've built a little army. I'm looking at War Machine right now. I've built a little army because those games are like new and interesting. But I'm not getting rid of any of my Legion stuff. I'm just waiting for this other shoe to drop, like the rest of the content, like the OP kits, the new commander. So when I go to a store and I try to make try to make a scene again, I can be like, hey, you can buy this to get in. We can do an escalation league. You
Yeah.
buy this box, and we're off to the races. So right now I've got nothing. I've got like old starters. Like it's really hard. So I know I'm going over my final thought, but it's my final thought is if you don't love it, maybe it's okay to step away until the fall when the rest of the stuff drops. And there's nothing wrong with that because the game's not going anywhere. Um, but I do suggest if you're feeling the burnout or you're just like, man, I don't know what's going on with this, there are a lot of other stuff like miniature games that are cheap to get into or free. They can try for a while until you want to come back.
And that, Mike, is why we're not an influencer podcast because we're not silencing Evan Bulriss when he says, it's okay to not buy the game.
It's okay. And part of the influencer definition was telling people what to do,
Yeah,
regardless of
no,
if it
Oh
don't
was a
say.
no!
purchasing decision or
Oh
not.
no, we blew it.
Hoisted on my own petard. Mike, what is your Legion emoji?
Um, I think I'm frustrated. I think is if there's a frustration emoji, I think I feel a little gaslit over the last year, I think. Um in that I think, we kind of went through like it's an update, not an addition. We finally got past this. We're gonna do points rebalances, but oh, not really. Like I just kind of want the things that they say are gonna happen to happen the way they say they're gonna happen. That's really, I think, what I want. And I think right now, like, within a week after this latest points update that had no points updates in it, I was really amped the last month, particularly after Adepticon, to like build new lists and play new things and like really kind of start the excitement of kind of having a whole new game and or not a whole new game, but like like a new meta, a new
Yeah,
a new
yeah, yeah.
world to live in, a new like new pieces to play around with, and I I feel like they sort of promised on that and then like didn't really deliver it. At least not all of it. I feel like we got like some of a package and they're like, well, we're gonna like wait to do the points updates for another 6 months and like look. I'm happy that they're doing it at all. I'm enthusiastic that their communication is increasing. They're coming on the podcast and they're like talking about their reasoning and stuff. And all of this is
Yeah.
great. I just that at the end of the day, like it doesn't change the fact that I'm like still frustrated when I go to Tabletop Admiral and try to build a list because it's basically the same as it was 2 weeks ago.
I yeah, I'm gonna actually just sort of like put my thought onto the end of that one, which is that I think that the number one thing that was a missed opportunity for the April update was the relative lack of balance changes. And I know that a big part of that is that with this one in particular, it has to do with what was sent to print shops, which I think were due, like that stuff was due in November. I think this is another fact that sort of came out of the Winter Moon thing that, you know, it maybe like didn't become a big obvious thing to a lot of people, but to me, it definitely clicked a lot of things that they would have had to, if they wanted printed unit cards to change, because all of these, like everything is going to be in the Empire unit card box or the CIS unit card box. Like all those cards are going to be there and then they're for the entire game, including from the beginning of 2.6. And so they really wanted to make sure that like the base cost on certain things like ARC troopers and commandos was like more appropriate. And so I think that they made extra sure that they could get those adjustments in. And I think that with like the Jin Kallus Lando stuff, it's likely just that they were testing things to double check them going into October and November, and that the reason why they didn't come out with Legion 2.6 just because they weren't quite done with those, but that they were almost done with everything else. And I think that there was a little bit of an artificial pressure to have the points match what the cards say for this one. That's a guess on my part. They didn't come out and say that.
I feel
So
like the
that's
logic doesn't add up there, though.
but I mean I think that the logic would be that they want the card to be accurate when it actually is released to the public. Whether that's logic that's actually overall a net positive for the game,
Sure,
I am less obviously I'm less on that side actually.
sure.
I think that they would have I think that we would have been better off if there were a few more balance changes to this one, especially because from a like and even if it was just points, even if like all the cards are going to be the same, like just having some points that were a little bit different by the time they released, I don't think that would have been the worst thing in the world. If you're playing on the tabletop, who cares at home? Whereas if you're like playing in a tournament, you're going to use a list builder, and then that's going to tell you what these things are actually worth. A part of it that I wonder about though is I will just say quickly that Atomic Mass is a small company. I think that they achieve a lot for how small a company they are, and I think that a lot of people out there don't realize just how relatively few full-time employees are at Atomic Mass. And they make three games. They make three decently popular games, which is a lot of work. And a lot of what goes into making sure that these things are balanced from a new release perspective is being able to get a lot of testing done. And they obviously have a testing strategy. Like they have I think it was like 10 testing leads that were like listed with the new rule book. And then they have internal testing on top of the external play testing that they do to get a wider variety of opinions. But I'm not going to go into details because of NDA, blah, blah, blah. But, I was a playtester for X-Wing and Armada towards the end of the FFG days for those games. And so I'm not going to say anything specific about that. But what I will say is that some games will have testers that are working on future releases and then separately have other groups of external play testers that are working on balance updates for the game. Um, and I think that it is at least possible that AMG may benefit from having more of a robust external playtest. Now, whether that's possible from a budget perspective or there may be various other reasons, like we are not insiders, so we don't know why. we don't even know much of anything, but part of their reticence about changing points, especially, has just been to rock the boat too much, which obviously is a reticence that you should have as a game developer, but they would be less worried about that if they did, at least in theory, maybe have like more people testing balance specifically. So that thought may be totally fictional, like compared to reality, but it is like it was the first thing that I thought of when the dust settled on all of this. Is that I agree with you, Mike, that the relative lack of balance changes for the April update was one of the downers about this, and I was a little bit down about it too. But that's
I,
just spitballing.
yeah, I mean, I think that the thing that hits me is that I personally, and this is obviously an opinion, feel like like this balance update, if it was going to be comprehensive, could have included like 50% of the game, like, or close to it in the amount of units that got hit with adjustments. I think that that's if you're doing like a 100%, like we're going all the way with the
Right,
balance and
right.
making sure we're doing the
Yeah.
thing. To me, look, I think if you're going to promise balance interval updates in November and April, you got to give us something. Even if that's like we tweaked 2 units in each faction, 5 points one way, and that's all we did. Like, I think uh, just to make things, even if that's just like we made things a little interesting. I understand that they're like very reticent to do that, but I don't think we're anywhere close to being able to like say we're tweaking stuff just to like mix it up. Like we're like very far from like needing to do that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like I don't think that that's ever really going to be a problem with the cadence of releases that they've shown us, with the clear kind of, I don't want to say, with the clear fact that like basically I don't have like a statistic on hand for this, so I'm gonna wing it. I would say 70% of all the new releases have needed their points tweaked in some way, shape, or form. I'm trying to think of a new release that didn't that I don't think needs a points tweak.
I think I think it may be closer to 50, but or
It's a
60.
it's a large number. It's more than half, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so and I'm gonna be honest. I've made stuff for games. I've done that sort of thing. I'm not expecting them to hit that mark every time. I actually think it's near impossible.
It's really
I,
hard. It's super
I
hard, but you
but
know,
I do think that you should be willing to just like be like, you know what? These things came in too hot. These things came in too far under. Like, we're just gonna nudge them like a little bit. We don't. It doesn't need to be drastic changes, and I think people would have been very happy with that, even if it was, I don't know. Um, if that document said stormtroopers came down 2 points and shore troopers came down 2 points, and like those changes would have basically, uh, I don't know.
yeah. Um, I yeah, I agree that they could have made several more adjustments than they did. At least it seems that way to us, and that there have been a few releases where the points have been off in the get-go. And I want to say for the record that when I was talking about this testing stuff, I am in no way saying that like there's something subpar about their current testing team. I am saying that it takes a lot of testing to get to a place that is even a micro semblance of a real environment. And but it's like there's only so much that you can do, especially with external playtests. And for all we know, maybe they're trying to do balance and new releases at the same time, which makes it really, really tough. And so again, maybe the responsible thing would be to not even openly wonder about stuff like that, just because we have like so little
Evan's like,
information.
I've
But
opened this Pandora's box.
um,
I don't know why I'm talking about
It's
this. Shut it.
that's fair. I mean, as I've play tested a few things for a few games, I'm
yeah,
playtesting things for games right now. It sucks. It's miserable. I'm using like paper cutouts, or I don't know what the unit's name is
Yeah, yeah,
for
for
like
sure.
legal reasons or whatever I'm doing, right? Or I don't know. I know some of the game. I don't know all the game. So it's like it's tough. And also, I'm doing it. Most playtesting is unpaid for every
Yeah,
company.
it's
Not
either
just
literally or functionally volunteer work.
yeah. So
For
it's all
external
volunteer.
playtesting. Yeah,
I work, 9 to 5, and then I go home, and then I try to read rules for a game. I
yeah,
have I'm trying to play test of this new theoretical stuff. So it's like I understand, and I understand like how hard it can be, and it's like overall though. I guess final thought is playtesting's hard, but I
it's
understand like it also affects. I mean, remember when Dark Troopers ruled the world for months and it was miserable and like holy smokes like that was bad right. I was like you go into a list, it's like double dark trooper, like you didn't have an answer, you're like well, good game, I guess I
Yeah,
just
no,
get
I mean, I straight
uh
up, I got to the finals of the Richmond Open, and I was like, I got paired against a Dark Trooper list, and I was like, I like actually can't win this match.
yeah,
Like
there's
it's
nothing I
like
can
it's
do
like
here.
literally impossible unless I just like high roll crits in like a 1 out of 1,000 sort of
I do
situation.
uh
yeah, yeah.
I do miss Alex Davey for one thing where we talked about jump masters back in X-Wing. He's like, yeah, whoops. He's like, yeah, those were nuts. Whoops, sorry. They were just crazy. We made a mistake. We like it just happened. And so like
For those who don't know,
there's
this is Dengar's ship. It's like the punishing one is a jump
punishing
master,
one.
and
Yeah,
there was like a 2 year period
it got nerfed
uh,
3 times.
where where like a triple jump master list, and usually it was the generic ones, not even punishing one. Punishing ones
Yeah, it was.
time came later, weirdly enough. But like they for some reason they were the best torpedo throwers in the history
Oh
of the
yeah,
game by like a margin of 200% from a math perspective.
Nice.
yeah, it
And
was
so they
nuts.
dominated, and X-Wing was very silly for a while. But anyway,
Yeah, it
go
was.
ahead.
You see three toilet seats show up next to you. You're
Yeah,
like,
triple toilet
cool, great.
seats.
Dribble toilet seats. But I guess so. I said I was pretty mid in the game, and I am. Like, I'm waiting for more stuff. I'm like trying to be very bullish about it. But I say that, but I'm also going down to co-cast a Legion tournament, and I'm signing up for 2 more, not including maybe going to Nova. So, like, my actions don't belay my words, because
Sure, sure.
I'm going to keep play this game because I
You're
love it
keeping it
so much.
alive. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I go and I like next year Adepticon. I think we go as a Rebel pilot or a Scout Trooper. I'm not sure. Whatever I can get a good deal in the helmet for, or the Stranger from the Acolyte because he's just robes. He's just robes and a helmet, and I can do that.
That's
So
right.
I try to like bring some energy to it because I feel like any game just boiled down to just the game can be a slog. But when you put a little bit of yourself into it and you make it a little bit more of a like a social experience, that can amp it up too. So I don't know where I'm quite going with that. It's just like if I think Legion has a bright future, I just wish some of that light would come a little sooner. I
I think,
guess like
yeah.
that's my like final takeaway.
The time piece I think is the most critical
Yeah, it's just
part of
like
this whole conversation is that I think, the conversations that the Wills have had with the various podcasts and stuff, I think have underlined and emphasized the fact that their process for getting changes like this,
I was probably miserable. Yeah,
like from start to finish, is probably way too long.
Not
And
that any of that is probably under their control at all, by the
some
way.
of it
yeah,
probably isn't, right? But like I definitely feel like part of that is like if that process is a thing that you can make more efficient,
Yeah. And
it would be very beneficial to do so.
yeah, like anything that can maximize your agility to respond to the environment in terms of making changes is going to be for the better. I agree. But um, yeah, so I think I'm basically fully with you, Evan. Bright future. There's some bummers about now. Don't be mean to people about the bummers that we have now. Like let people be bummed. But I think that universally we should just like accept the bumpedness, but not turn that into like targeted negative emotions at other people. regardless of who those other people are.
The worst thing that can happen here is everybody takes this negativity like into the new season of like, we're starting the game over. Here's your new starter sets. Like, don't
Yeah.
do that, guys.
The,
Like, that is like
yeah,
not the direction we want to go.
yeah, we might have a whole other reason to be negative when it's the time for starter release,
So
which
stop it.
which has to do with other factors that are way outside of AMG's control.
I
Talking
want to be
about,
very clear and
yeah,
transparent. Evan is talking about tariffs. There's nothing that
yes,
we're like hiding or anything.
yes.
Obviously, everybody is like
Yeah.
way up to date on the. Hopefully, you're up to date on
But
the
it
current
luckily
climate and situation.
it's
That's
far
that's
enough
all that's
away
being referenced
that
right here.
exactly, it's far enough away that we also don't know what kind of an effect it's really going to have because things have changed quite a bit over time. So I think there's going to be an episode where we talk about it. It's going to be when it's closer to really like go time.
Hopefully, there's not an
Um,
episode that we have to talk about it. To be very
you're
clear.
right. That's the ideal situation.
Yeah.
I'm just like trying to be realistic. We're not going to shy away. Like, we're never going to get like political in terms of saying like one thing or another. But I think that we are going to need to acknowledge the influence of forces such as that. Either way, if we take all that stuff out, because like that's kind of what we have to do for now. I am very optimistic about the future of the game. I think the new releases that are coming up are really awesome. I think customiles are going to be great. Got a little bit of time for Morning of Palp and his buddies for right now, but the future does look bright. So I think that's a good place to tie it up. Um, Evan, thank you for being on the podcast.
Of course.
You, even though this time it was like to bring you on to be sad, and I feel a little bit bad about that. That I basically was
Yeah,
like, Evan, why don't you come on our podcast and be sad for us? And I
it's
was like, why don't you dance for us, Evan? Do
Dance
your
monkey
sad
dance.
dance.
What if I put on a helmet?
We enjoy your sad dance, Evan. Good job. But you'll be back again. I bet we're gonna have you back again, like right after we find out about customizable commanders, and we're gonna tell each other about what our first customizable commander is gonna be. I bet that mine's gonna be named after Evan Bulriss.
Oh, oh
I've
my
got a
God.
really cool project that I haven't decided if I'm like sharing
Ooh,
to the
there's
community on
that's a
with
teaser.
yeah. I'm really excited about it. I don't
Yeah,
know if I'm gonna have that bandwidth to actually like see it through, you know? It's like one of those
yeah,
things
yeah,
where like I start a billion things, I finish like 10, 15% of them, you
yeah.
know? Like
Yeah.
That's just being a human, man.
it is, yeah.
But yeah, thank you again for being here. And thanks as always for your presence and your production, Mike. And I'll let you tell us how we land the plane.
Yeah, this has been season 4, episode 12 of the Notorious Scoundrels podcast. I'm Mike.
I'm Evan.
And I'm Evan.
Yay.
Stay fresh, cheese bags.